Whoa, wasn't expecting that. Let's fix this up here a little bit. Boom, there we go. All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the post-game show, the final post-game show for the 2023 season for Notre Dame football. I am Vince D'Addario. That guy over there is Ryan Roberts, and this guy that's holding both of us up is Sean Davis. He's holding us both up, man. What's going on, fellas? How we doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, Vince. It's good. I haven't seen Vince and been on the show with Vince in a long time. I think
know,
it was
man.
might have been post game Clemson.
I might have been. It's been a
Maybe.
minute.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been a
good
minute.
to see you.
Sean,
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
This is my third show with Vince this week, man. It's pretty wild. Pretty
We're just
wild.
knocking
Pretty
it
wild
out,
world we're
man.
living in right now, man. Yeah.
And you're being a trooper this week.
Brian was like, Vince, you're off this week. Back to work, scum.
This is the job that I happily come to, folks, every time I can. And obviously, happily coming to this show as well, considering we're going to be talking about Notre Dame's 40-8 victory over Oregon State in the Sun Bowl. I mean, guys, obviously, we're going to break it down. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, but this thing was over after the first couple of drives. I mean, after I saw Notre Dame's offensive drive and I saw Oregon State's offensive drive, it was like, yeah, this game probably isn't going to be terribly close. And Ryan and I talked a couple of days ago, last time we were on the show together, that this game could end up being kind of boring in the fourth quarter. And that's what ended up happening, to be honest with you. So a lot of good things to talk about for Notre Dame, guys. Let's just kick it off with your first impressions. I've got a bunch of hasn't happened since that we'll get to as well in this first segment. But I mean, gosh, a lot of positive stuff to talk about for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, Vince, I would like to share a text that you sent me. It was 7-0 Notre Dame at the time. And Notre Dame had stalled on the drive and missed the field goal. And you were like, that was the drive to seal it. And I'm just like, I didn't text this back because I'm just like, it's just kind of early in a football game to be saying that 14 points would seal it or 10 points would seal it. But ultimately, Vince was right. And I need to stop doubting Vince D'Addario, apparently, because he was 100% correct in that situation. I mean, biggest takeaways, guys, because we'll talk about Steve Angeli. We'll talk about Jadarian Price. We'll talk about the swarming defense. Honestly, offensive and defensive lines dominated this football game, in my opinion. I think that they just look, there were obviously competitive advantages at several skill position spots overall. But I mean, for me, the defensive line, 8 Oregon State's offensive line alive all game. The offensive line that had brand new starter at left tackle, brand new starter at right tackle, and 2 interior guys that only been starting like their 3rd or 4th game overall this season.
Right.
They dominated Oregon State. They really did for the most part. They ran for over 200 yards. They gave Steve Angeli plenty of time. Even a couple of the sacks that they got were strictly coverage sacks where the ball probably should have been out a little bit quicker. So I think the offensive and the defensive lines, man, they set the tone early and they allowed Steve Angeli, Jordan Faison, the talented running backs to get to wear this team down and to make the big plays. So the offensive and defensive lines for me were the biggest takeaways, honestly.
For me, the biggest takeaway, guys, is that this game was the perfect symbolic way to end this season, right? I mean, defense dominating, offensive line that has the look, man, everybody was worried about how this O-line and Joe Rudolph. Does this prove Joe Rudolph has 4 and 5 stars? It's like he has talented kids. It's not like he's going out there trying to turn back up to the 2 and 3 stars into a unit for a bowl game. Like Charles Jagsaw is talented. Billy Schrauth is talented. Ashton Craig is talented. Heck, the second stringers came in and looked darn good. You know why? Because they're talented. And that's the frustration of this season, is that this is a really talented team with a really good defense that had an offense every game. By average, if we watched every game, we could probably say Notre Dame left minimum 10 points on the field every game. They did it again today. They left 10 points on the field. And it's like, yo, that was the frustration. But they come out, they dominate an opponent they're supposed to dominate. They've done that all year. This is Notre Dame football this year. Frustrations, they dominate the teams they're supposed to dominate. And then the big games, you know, you see some of the flaws come out. But other than that, you have to be extremely excited. 10 wins on the season, right? Don't focus on the negative. Look to the promise of the future, the players you're getting in the portal, the players you're getting via the 24 class. And this team, once again, should be extremely talented next year. And hopefully the execution thing that Marcus Freeman has been just blasting through press conferences all year will finally come to fruition, and we'll see it evident in the win-loss record in the playoff berth. I mean, that's it. Really, the way this game went is really like, yeah, this is the 2023 Notre Dame football season.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, and the fact that, I mean, bowl games are so tough, right? Because you've got guys opting out, and it's not the best guys from the team. You know, all of those different things. But that aside, and Ryan and I talked about this a couple days ago. Like, this game was going to come down to the depth, like which team has better depth. And going into the game, we were both like, well, Notre Dame has better depth. I mean, look at the last 3 recruiting classes. You know, you look at just Notre Dame versus Oregon State in 2023. And Notre Dame has the better depth. Now, Oregon State had some pretty good guys that have opted out, and all of that. You take nothing away. And of course, they flashed that graphic up at one point, you know, all the guys that aren't playing for Oregon State. I guarantee you they had a similar graphic ready to go for Notre Dame if the situation was reversed, because there was a bunch of guys obviously sitting out for Notre Dame as well. I mean, there was a whole gaggle of them at the game cheering on their teammates, right? So it's hard for me to make a lot of proclamations about this team, but except the major one for me is Notre Dame has got some dudes, man. I mean, dudes that didn't have an opportunity to play this year for whatever reason, mostly because there were better dudes ahead of them. But the future is so bright for Notre Dame on both sides of the ball, mind you, right? I mean, they're working on an extension for Al Golden and the defense that he put together, and most of those guys obviously are coming back. And then we got to see flashes of the speed and aggressiveness of the offensive line and the skill position guys on offense. I mean, this was, like I said, this game was over early and Notre Dame dominated often. Like, that's how this game went. And it was fun to watch. This was, somebody put in the chat, this is the most calm they've ever been watching a Notre Dame game. Like, I don't disagree with them, man. Like, it was just, it was like watching a game and just totally chill and, you know, that kind of a thing. Like, it was never in doubt for me, obviously. And of course, we're going to jump into the specific players and all of that. I've got some stuff here, though, that I want to make sure that I get out.
Can I say one thing, Vince, before we move on to a
You can
little
say
bit more
more than one
specifics?
if you want.
I forgot to mention in just kind of the overall thoughts in this game is that I think you need to give a big hat tip to the coaches for Notre Dame as well.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I would argue
Defensively,
Al Golden did everything Al Golden's been doing the entire season. Attack, attack, attack. Made a lot of big plays, was suffocating throughout most of the game. Gino Guidugli, I thought, called a really good football game today, man. I was like, passing game wise, especially, I was like, he was getting guys open. He was being super creative. I mean, there was a lot of stack. There was a lot of short motion, 2-stack. There was a lot of guys, you know, intercrossing. Like, there was a lot of great stuff offensively. Joe Rudolph, John, I know me and Vince talked about this. I don't know if you talked about it, but this was going to be a big game for Joe Rudolph because Oregon State was intact up front. They had their dudes up front, and you are starting multiple new starters, and the offensive line was ready to play, in my opinion. The wide receivers looked like they had an extra pep in their step working with Mike Brown for a couple weeks now. So hat tip to Notre Dame coaches. They had this team ready to play today. They were prepared to play this football game very well.
No doubt about it. And I mean, you had a GA step up at tight end, right? You had a brand new wide receivers coach, and I would say the wide receivers played pretty stinking well in this game. You know, Jordan Faison ended up getting MVP, which was a little bit surprising to me because they usually throw that towards the quarterback. But he was on the receiving end an awful lot of those throws and made some really nice plays and did a really nice job on the outside and proved that he's going to be a weapon, obviously, moving forward for Notre Dame. Which is super exciting, obviously. And so, you know, these coaches did a fantastic job, Ryan. I will echo you in that because, you know, I shouldn't say it's easy. When you're coaching the same guys, a whole new crop of kids to get ready for game play, game action. And that's not an easy thing to do, even in 12 practices or whatever they ended up having, you know, prior to the game. I think they get 15. I don't think they had a full 15, but to get those kids ready to play at a high level, there were a lot of uniform numbers out there, guys, that we're just not used to seeing in the 23 season that people better get used to seeing in the 24 season because these kids can ball and these coaches put them in a position to ball. And I'll go specific, and I'll shout out Gino Guidugli and what he was able to do with this offense. Not only did he call a really nice game, not only was it schemed up really nicely, and that goes to the whole offensive staff. I mean, I think that was a team effort from the coaches, but he called a nice game, and the way that he called the game to highlight what Steve Angeli does well, I think really impacted this game. They were able to, because look, this Oregon State defense, they were missing 3 or 4 guys, I think, total. But they were fairly intact from a pretty darn good defense from the regular season. And I thought that they schemed a lot of guys open. They schemed a lot of ways for Steve Angeli to be successful, a lot of one reads, things of that nature. I mean, he was throwing to some wide open guys at times because of the scheme. Yeah, there were a couple of defensive breakdowns, yes, but they schemed guys open. They rolled Steve Angeli out a little bit because he throws well on the run. He's always thrown well on the run. That's who Steve Angeli is. And we saw more rollouts and things of that nature than we saw all year with Sam Hartman. So they obviously tailored some things for Steve Angeli. So I give Gino Guidugli a heck of a lot of credit in this game overall that allowed them to get to that 10-win plateau, which we all know and we've all talked about it, was such a huge number to get to, because I don't care how those 10 wins are made up. 10 wins looks a heck of a lot better than 9, fellas, especially when it's a dominating win like this moving into the offseason.
So your overall message, or both of your overall messages, man, it just really talks about how big this team was today. And I said this coming into the game. Steve Angeli's performance, if he performs as he did today, will do more to answer the quarterback development question at Notre Dame more than anything Riley Leonard can do next year. Today, Steve Angeli kicked that door down.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody that was evaluated, recruited, looked a certain way, got better during the season, and performed. We had not seen that in the quarterback room in Notre Dame with all 5 of those areas in a long time. And Steve Angeli answered the question, can it happen under Marcus Freeman's watch? In a microcosm, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Full season, we still have to see. But for this day, we see that the coaching staff, which Ryan pointed out, did a fantastic job of developing this young man. Look, I was there in the spring. I wasn't there in the fall, Vince. You were there in the fall. In the spring, we both know how Steve Angeli looked in practices. He's a totally different quarterback, Vince.
Agreed.
So, and we saw that in the limited snaps during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And to give him the full reps as a starter, to prep for this bowl, for him to improve even more, and to look as confident. And it was just showing or telling throughout the week when his teammates talked about how confident they were in him. And then he comes out and he's just stoic, his composure.
Yeah.
And look, this young man, regardless of where he is, he controls his future. And if he continues to improve, the young man has a chance to be whatever he wants to be. And that's the greatest thing about life, right? You put your head down, you grind it out, you work hard, you got an opportunity. And this young man sees the opportunity, not only for himself individually, but he sees the opportunity to answer a big-time question that was looming over the Notre Dame football program and that quarterback room for a long time. That right there is something that bodes well for Kenny Minchie, CJ Carr, Deuce Knight, anybody else coming behind them. Because now that kind of has been answered. Yes, we have the coaching staff in place.
Right.
And we're bringing on Mike Denbrock and his experience to show you, yes, quarterbacks can be developed here at Notre Dame.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it. Man. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And come on, Sean always brings the heat. Always. But
spins it differently, they say. That's
that. What I've heard. I've heard that. But no, I think Sean makes a really good point. And we'll talk about Riley Leonard. We've got 9 months to talk about Riley Leonard and the impact that he can have on this team and whatever that looks like. That's not for today. Like today, we're going to talk about what Steve Angeli did for this team and how he played today and how he sets himself up for his future at Notre Dame or wherever he sees himself. And that's the point that Sean is making. He is going to pave his way, whatever that way is, Steve now has an option of what he wants to do. And if it's to stay at Notre Dame, he can be impactful at Notre Dame, whether that's as the starter in the future, whether that's in 24 or 25, or whether that's as a key backup. Because look, let's say that he's the backup next year, okay, and something happens to the starter. I think we all feel pretty confident in what Steve Angeli can do and move this team up and down the field, okay?
Absolutely.
He can win you games, or you will win games
against most
Steve
teams.
Angeli. Yes,
against
you will
most
win
teams,
games
I would agree.
with Steve Angeli. Yeah. And like I said, I don't want to get into the Riley Leonard versus Steve Angeli and why did they bring in a transfer. Like we have so much time to talk about that, and we will. But today we're talking about the Sun Bowl and what he was able to do in this game, and we'll break it down more when we talk about the offense. But he led this offense to do a lot of really great things in this game. For example, Jordan Faison and Jadarian Price, it's the first 100-yard games of their career, right? So that's pretty great. He led them to the first back-to-back bowl wins for Notre Dame since 2013, 2014. That was the Pinstripe Bowl against Rutgers and the Music City Bowl against LSU. That's the last time Notre Dame won back-to-back bowl games. That's saying, I mean, hey, that's saying something, right? So we'll give them credit. We'll give the team, obviously, credit for that. This is the third time this season that Notre Dame had over 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing in the same game. And it's the first time in school history that Notre Dame has scored 40-plus points in back-to-back bowl games. So there's that. So obviously they're putting points on the board. And then defensively, I mean, gosh, we're going to talk about the defense, but they gave up 2 yards on the ground, guys. 2 yards on 16 carries. Okay. That's getting after the quarterback. That's shutting down the run game. Like, that is terrible.
Sean, you were a math major, right? What's the average on that per carry?
I got to get out my phone because that's terrible. Whatever
low.
it is. Let's see.
Pretty low.
Well, they put it at 0.1 yards a carry. That's what they have it as. But
wow.
You could probably extend it out a few decimal points. But that, I mean, gosh, guys, that's obviously terrible. And you've got 468 total yards for Notre Dame to 197 yards for Oregon State. And a bunch of those yards for Oregon State came in that fourth quarter when Notre Dame pretty much had I'd say their twos, but a lot of it were threes and beyond, right? And then 5 different guys scored touchdowns for Notre Dame. So, I mean, look, this was a huge win for Notre Dame for a lot of different reasons. Yes, it's the Sun Bowl. I get it. It was a sellout. You know, they put on a show. They did what they needed to do. They got that 10th win, and they did it in dominating fashion. So they can take this victory. They can ride it into the offseason with what they've already got as currently the number 1 ranked recruiting class in 2025, I believe, Ryan, right? So,
by at least one platform. Yes. Yep.
So a very good 25 class, and they can take this momentum into the offseason and whatever that means moving into spring practice. So I like where this team is situated. Are we all happy they were in the Sun Bowl? No, but they took advantage of what they had in front of them, and they left no doubt. I mean, bottom line, they left no doubt.
Yep. 10 greater than 9, Sean. That was my conversation this week, right? It's a greater than, less than, or equal to less than there in the math world. So then 10 is greater than 9. Marcus Freeman's first double-digit win season at Notre Dame. It gets another bowl win, back-to-back bowl wins. You're heading into an offseason where you're bringing in some guys, man. I mean, you're bringing in the 2024 class. One of them was already there on the sideline, although he was not eligible to play, in CJ Carr. You're bringing in a transfer quarterback and Riley Leonard, who's a big-time talent. You're bringing in some wide receivers that are extremely gifted. You're bringing in RJ Oben. Bringing in some really good coaches as well. Mike Denbrock obviously had to like kind of what he saw today out of guys like Jordan Faison and those cats. So, yeah, man, it's exciting times, guys. It's exciting times. Let's enjoy the win. Let's talk about who played well today, because that is what this show is for. We'll talk about Riley Leonard the entire offseason. It's not.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. All right, so we're going to talk some offense, but before we do, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. Make sure you tell your family and friends, leave us a comment, a 5-star review, all of those fun different things that you can do to help the podcast. We will do a mailbag at the end, but we're only going to do super chats. We only do super chats and post-game shows. So if you get those in, we've already got a bunch of those to dissect later on. But make sure you get those in, and we will get to those at the end. All right, fellas, let's get into the offense. Let's jump into this thing. Like I said, 468 yards of total offense. And I mean, hey, let's talk about, the elephant in the room, right? Steve Angeli, 15 of 19, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns, 78.9% completion percentage, no interceptions. His stat line, pretty impressive. Better than what I would have anticipated from a stat line. Like, I always thought Notre Dame was going to win fairly big, but his stat line was better than I anticipated. So let's talk about Steve Angeli, how he did in this game. Your thoughts on him, fellas, his demeanor, his play, all of it. Let's talk about number 18 in blue and gold.
I mean, Vince, on the show when we did our kind of preview show of the game, I say I expected Steve Angeli to be very efficient in this football game, and 15 out of 19 is very efficient.
Yeah.
And I think that he showed me today. He exceeded my expectations in the total numbers. I said he was going to have around 180 something passing yards and 2 touchdowns. I think was kind of the thing I said, right around there.
Yeah,
so he has
I think it was
230 something yards, 3 touchdowns. He played a little bit better as far as just volume of stats compared to what I thought he was going to do. But Steve, I think for the baseline great things that he did was, one, I think that the offense was called very well. And I think that Steve was very confident and comfortable. Like, people were asking, do you think there's a possibility he could lay an egg in this game and be a turnover guy? And I'm just like, I don't really see that, right? Like, he has a really calm demeanor to him. He's a very confident kid. And I expected to see that in the Sun Bowl and his opportunity. And we saw that. Like, he never seemed, even when there were a couple moments of like the play clock coming down and a delay of game and having to call a timeout, he still seemed composed, even when Marcus Freeman's yelling at him, right? Like, he's just listening and he's taking it in and he's being taught. And it's great. It's really good stuff. And I think from the get-go, like that busted coverage to Jordan Faison, I think was great for him because he got a really easy completion early for an explosive play. And I just think he settled in, man. And I thought he saw the game pretty well for the first start. Like, I think he did everything that he needed to do. There wasn't a bad decision really throughout the game. There were a couple poor throws that we'll talk about, but Steve didn't really make a bad decision all game. He was on his P's and Q's as far as knowing what his responsibility was, what his read was supposed to be, and making the necessary throws. He didn't put you in harm's way. He didn't do any, aside from taking a couple sacks, didn't take a ton of negatives. He was just good. Like, he was just consistent. He was confident in his abilities, and I just think he did a good job. I mean, exceeded my expectations from a volume perspective, but he was just an efficient, good player today, in my opinion.
And I think that goes back to your point earlier, Ryan, when you talked about how important the coaching staff was, right? Jared Parker, according to most, laid the game plan out before he took the job at Troy as a head coach. But Gino, in effect, made it come alive. I thought Gino, his time in a certain play calls, getting things, I think one of the most impressive play calls for me was just the fact that they went to the RPOs with Steve Angeli. They said it on the broadcast, like, he hasn't run the ball all year. Well, we knew he could run. Like, we've seen it in practices. We knew that was a weapon he's had. No, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he is a very, very capable runner of the football. And you see him pulling, running the ball backside on the RPO. You see him getting outside the pocket, more accurate outside the pocket than inside the pocket, but we'll break that down a little bit later, like you said, Double R. But I'm very impressed. I expected him to be very efficient as well. You know why? Because when he came into games during the season, that's what we saw. He was composed. He was efficient. He didn't make the big mistakes. We were shocked that he threw the interception at Stanford in that last game, which was a miscommunication thing. So I fully expect him to be able to perform. I think we both said, I said on the podcast this week, like 200 yards. That's all we need from him. Like, that's all we need from him today. We don't need 300 yards. And this is the scary thing. A 4-touchdown day was out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you really get into like drop passes and like missed opportunities, he had a chance to add 2 to 3 more touchdowns in this game. And so the monster game was out there, but what was needed is what he did. Be efficient, and then first-time starter. Dude, the delay of games, the stuff he was getting screamed, I expect that from a first-time starter, man. You have to keep track of the clock, but, he lost it a couple of times.
Sure.
And you can live with that because as long as he's not turning the ball over and giving it back to the other team, you can kind of make up for that, especially when you have the better team. And it was clear from a depth chart standpoint with the opt-outs on both sides that Notre Dame just flat out, even if everyone had played and no one opted out, Notre Dame would have had the deeper team and the
Yes.
better team.
Agreed.
Like they would have. Would the game have been different? Probably. Maybe would have been a little bit closer. But other than that, you just really saw a Notre Dame team, honestly, other than the ACC and their executives being jerks, had no business being in the Sun Bowl.
Right.
They really didn't,
This is
right?
true.
So, okay, this is where you place us. You put us against a team that we're clearly better than. Okay, we're going to treat them like that. And I'm sure the Sun Bowl was pleased to just have Notre Dame there. Did you see any orange shirts in the stands? I'm sorry. I kept looking.
It's funny.
I kept looking.
It's funny you say that, Sean, because we were all, obviously the three of us were all watching it on TV, and at the very beginning of the game, they like zoomed in on some Oregon State fans, and there was like 10 of them, and they were all kind of clumped together. And I'm thinking to myself, that may be all the Oregon State fans they were able to find, because you could see like on the outskirts, it was all like green shirts. I thought that was obviously I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but it was definitely, look, El Paso is a predominantly like Catholic town. Like it's very pro Notre Dame, just based on the population of people that are there, and it showed. I mean, they sold the game out. I don't know the history of the Sun Bowl, but my guess is they don't sell out the Sun Bowl all that often, and they were sold out at the beginning of this week, and it was full. Now people left because it was a blowout, but it was full in the first half. So I mean, obviously Notre Dame has that, and they have that draw and all of that stuff, but I mean, look, the offense was really good. Let's start up front, fellas. 4 out of the 5 linemen were guys that were not starting on day one. We had a couple of starts under the belt of a couple of guys. We have no starts under the belt of 2 of the guys. Your thoughts on the offensive line and how they looked in this game?
I mean, I thought it was, generally speaking, a very impressive outing. I mean, just kind of and I think it's a good thing that we do the you guys do the Upon Further Review show here, because obviously getting into the All-22, that's where you really truly evaluate offensive line play. It's hard to do it off a broadcast film and in a live game, but overall, I'll say this: I thought Charles Jagasaw seemed to carry himself really well. I saw him fall off a block or two, which is to be expected for a guy making his first career start. The sack that he gave up, quote unquote, gave up, I don't really put that fully on him. I think the ball should have been out. And I think that also, I think Steve kind of stepped into, or didn't step into, or step away from a pretty late pressure there off of a coverage sack. So I don't really blame Charles Jagasaw that much in that instance. But I thought that for most part, I didn't notice Charles. And when you're talking about a guy that was going in his first start against 2 pretty good pass rushers, the Chatfield kid, who I believe began his career at Florida, if I remember correctly, he had 9 sacks coming into this football game. John McCartan, the other outside linebacker, number 6, is a good football player as well. So he went against a couple of pretty good pass rushers and had a pretty clean game overall. So I thought Charles played pretty well. I thought Tosh was solid. Like I didn't notice Tosh a ton in this football game. I thought he was okay. I'm not saying he was great. I'm not saying he definitely wasn't bad. He was just a solid player. Inside, I think it's a little bit of the same. Like I saw Pat Coogan fall off a few blocks today. I think he just has a little bit of trouble just kind of sustaining blocks overall. But overall, Ashton Craig, Billy Shrouth had seemed to play good football games. But as a unit, which is the more important conversation for me, aside from individual performance, I thought the offensive line had a very good outing. Pass protection wise, I thought it was very consistent throughout. Running started off well, and I think there were a little bit of missed blocks kind of in the middle portion of the game, but then down the stretch, obviously they wore down on the Oregon State front 7. So overall, I was impressed, man. Hats off again to Joe Rudolph. I think Joe Rudolph got some young guys ready to play, and the offensive line overall impressed me in this one for Notre Dame.
I think what impressed me, and I said this earlier, and not to, because I'm right in line with what Double R is saying. Like, I was more worried about watching Joe Rudolph in game than I was the preparation leading into the game. Because as I said before, it's not like he has 2 and 3 stars. Are they young? Yeah, but they're good. And they're going to make mistakes. So I expected them to be ready. I expected them to compete. The proof for me was third string Ashton Craig walking in at Death Valley in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, okay, if that young kid can walk into that situation and be ready, give me 15 practices, these other young guys are going to be ready. I was pretty confident about that. But I was worried about, like you said, Vince, the Oregon State defense pretty much was there. It was a formidable defense. And their two young linebackers that were starting, I like those two kids the way they played today. Absolutely.
That number 44, he puts a little meat on his bones. I think he can be pretty good, you know, because he looked a little slight. He's a true freshman, I believe, right, Ryan?
Very active.
But very active, very fast, you know, isn't afraid to hit.
Red shirt freshman, but close enough. Red shirt freshman.
Okay.
Close enough.
He needs to put some meat on his bones if he wants to be a middle linebacker. But other than that, I was very impressed with the way he played today.
Yeah, so, you know, you lock that in, and I think the thing that stood out to me, I always love to see, okay, in order to set the tone, which side of the line are you going to run to starting the game? And they went to the right side. And I'm like, okay, start the game with the run game. They're going behind Tosh, Billy, Ashton. Okay. And then they set the tone pretty well. And of course, I'm watching, like you said, I'm watching Charles Jagasaw. Did I say that correctly, Ryan? You know, I want to make sure I said that correctly.
So, we've gone from Jagusa to Jagasaw to whatever the heck he's called now. Yes, Charles J at left tackle was very good though today. Yeah.
But like you said, Ryan did a great job pointing out, like, you know, exactly how he played. But we expected that. Like, we knew this kid was good. It was the injury really was the only thing that kept him from like getting into the lineup in some capacity, in our opinion. We talked about that all year. So basically, Joe Rudolph, I just love to see. I thought the line, Ryan, play to play, series to series, quarter to quarter, got better. You talked about that being cohesive. You could pick out one or two plays here, but I think they became even more dominant as the game went on. You start, like you said, they started to wear that Oregon State defense down. And that's what you want to see from an offensive line, right? Because you expect defenses to come out fast, be able to make plays, but they were able to limit those negative plays, allow Steve Angeli to be efficient. I agree wholeheartedly. That the same play you talked about, the sack he gave up, you'll see the throw he made to Salerno late was the same throw that was available. And he had a crosser coming underneath, and the ball should have been out, right?
Yeah.
But that's just breaking down, you know, Steve Angeli in his first start. But I love what this offensive line was able to do. And hey, we can talk about the big boys, Pendleton, and when the crew that came in behind him, they put in work on that drive with Kenny Minchie. It's like, yo, Joe, man, let me tell you something. You talk about all the opt-outs on both sides. I would much rather have been Marcus Freeman with the opt-outs than Kefense Henson with the opt-outs. I can tell you that. Because his offensive line, the backups that he had to roll with.
Well, that's what we talk about with the depth, right, Sean? I mean, I mean, come on, like, it was. I mean, that's a no-brainer with the difference if you stack both offensive lines, and they had that graphic up, you know, where they showed the day one offensive line for Notre Dame, and then today's offensive line, and okay, yeah, there's four new guys, and we've been talking about that the whole time, but look, that offensive line that Notre Dame put out there today would start on a heck of a lot of Division I, Power 5 schools. They just would.
Talent-wise, it's still one of the best units in the country. It was just super inexperienced. I mean, that's what it was, right? You're just like
100%.
Charles, at some point, and I just refuse to say his last name anymore, right? So it's the artist formerly known as Jagasaw, Charles J. He, in about a year or two, is probably going to be in the conversation for one of the best linemen in the country. Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe that. I truly do. Billy Shroud, talent-wise, is about as talented as just about any guard that you're going to find in college football. He's extremely talented. Ashton Craig is a great mover and has a great body inside. Tosh Baker's talented. I just think lacks bend a little bit. But either way, there's not a lot of great offensive lines in college football overall. There's really not. So there is a lot of teams. I think you said it correctly, Vince. There's a whole lot of teams that line that Notre Dame put out there today from a talent perspective, they would be like, yes, please. Come here. You guys could start. We'll start all of you. We'll give you an NIL deal. What the heck ever. We'll make this happen, man.
Yeah.
Offensive line's very talented.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll just give my quick 2 cents so I'm not completely stepping over you guys, but I thought the offensive line, for all the new parts and pieces, I thought they played pretty well. There's going to be some stuff that we can nitpick. There always is, right? I thought that they handled themselves very, very well. I don't think if you looked at all 5 of those guys, you could pick out who the true freshman was, because the artist formerly known as Charles Jagasaw looked like a dude, like just physically, like getting off the bus, dude. You know what I mean? Like I've noticed that right away. And when you see it on TV, it's different than even when you see it in person. I remember seeing him at practice thinking, holy moly. Because of course he was in, like, for stretch lines, he was in the back because he was a freshman, right? And this is going to sound weird, but this is like the football coach and me talking. Like, his backside was like, okay, this boy's going to be a lineman. Like, that's what you look at when you're looking for a lineman. Like, their base, and all those kinds of things. Like, this
bubble butt, man. He's got some sand in the pants.
Yes, some sand in the pants. And that is exciting, man. Like, he is a player, and you could tell physically that he was going to be a player the second he stepped on campus. And you give him a whole year under the tutelage of Joe Rudolph and playing behind a guy like Joe Alt. I mean, the kid's ready to play. I mean, and this was a nice little coming out party for him. There's no doubt about it.
Sean, you remember when we covered the 2023 offensive line class of Charles Jagasaw, Sullivan Absher, Sam Pendleton, Joe Otting, and Christopher Terrick? What was the one thing we talked about? Physically, they are just
big dudes.
They are advanced, though. Like, they are just big dudes. I mean, honestly, Vince, because it's to your point, is that if I lined up Charles Jagasaw, the artist formerly known as Charles Jagasaw, and Sam Pendleton next to each other and just walk past them, what grade do you think those kids would be? Right. I would probably guess a junior, maybe. Right? Like, they are advanced. Sam Pendleton is a grown man. Like, he looks like he could play in the NFL next year just from body composition perspective, right? Like, obviously, I'm not saying he's going to be an NFL player, in a couple years. Right. I have no idea. But ultimately, I think you said it perfectly. They are just some impressively talented kids, and Joe Rudolph had them ready to play today.
Yeah,
and that was the most important part to me.
Yeah, they absolutely were.
Vince, you give the best drops in all the podcasts. Dude, that he got sand in his pants, and that's exciting. That I'm sure we're going to see that on social media over the next week.
Vince is going to have his hands cupped, just like a big rump, like a big old rump.
If I'm going to go viral, it might as be for something like that. Why not?
Oh, man.
That's what I do. All right, let's move off of the offensive line so I don't get myself in any more trouble here. We talked about Steve Angeli, and real quick, I didn't really give my opinion on Steve. I just want to throw it out there. I thought he played well for Steve Angeli. I thought he exceeded my expectations. There's no doubt about it. His poise was something that I expected, but it was really nice to see. I mean, his poise was really, really good for a guy that has never started a game, obviously, has no college experience, really. And he is known he's going to be the starter for a month. And it didn't look like it was his first time starting from a poise standpoint. I really, really, really like that from him. Yeah, he missed some throws. He made some rookie mistakes. A couple of those sacks that he took, he didn't need to take those. You can write that off to a first-time starter, to be honest with you. Now, there were some easy throws that he missed, which you would love to have back, and he'll be probably the first one to tell you that. But they also did a fantastic job of putting him in a position to be successful. And he executed what they asked him to execute. And so all in all, I think he did a great job today. In the, as Sean would say, in the microcosm of today's bowl game, I think Steve Angeli did a great job. And now he's got some great film to show what he's about. And I think that's awesome for him. That's fantastic. And whether he stays at Notre Dame, whether he doesn't stay at Notre Dame, that's fodder for another podcast. But today, I thought he played really, really well. So there's great. Let's talk about the backfield, because I think we all thought that Jeremiah Love was probably going to be the lead back. I don't think that's really ended up what happening today.
Well, he had the most carries. He just wasn't nearly as efficient as
he wasn't as efficient.
Yeah.
And that's crazy that he had the most carries, because I didn't see that coming from just watching the game. I didn't realize that was actually going to be the case. You're right. He had 15 carries where Price only had 13, but he had 15 for 39 and Price had 13 for 106.
Yes.
So a little bit different there from a production standpoint. So, boys, talk to me about the backfield and your thoughts on how they played.
I mean, Sean, I would kind of phrase it like this. I think that overall the backfield showed a lot of great things, right? Like we saw obviously Jadarian Price break off the long run. We saw Jeremiah Love with the 13-yard touchdown catch out of the backfield, which was really nice to see. I mean, Jabron Payne had a couple nice runs. I mean, you even have Devin Ford that was running the ball hard down the stretch of the football game. So I think each running back showed a lot of promise. It was interesting watching. It was interesting watching Jeremiah Love today, though, because there were Vince. I texted you in the first carry of the game. He almost broke that buddy, man. He was almost gone, and he did that 2 or 3 times where he got like a 5 or 6 yard game where that was almost 60, right? There was almost 50. That was almost a big gain, and I think that was the biggest difference in the game was that he just wasn't quite able to break that long run. Because let's be honest about something, right? It wasn't super efficient for the most part for Jadarian Price either. I mean, at one point he had 12 carries for like 52 yards, which is like 4.3 yards a carry. It's not bad, but also that 60-yard run or that 54-yard run was what really helped the average and helped the total overall, right? So I think efficiency-wise, Jadarian Price was better than what Jeremiah Love was today. I just think that this is a big offseason for that running back room because overall, I would say this out of the top 2 backs, they both need to get stronger physically. Like you just need to be able to run through some more arm tackles. I'm telling you, man, Jeremiah Love was a block or 2 or a tackle breaking away from having 1 or 2 long runs in this game. And we have a completely different vibe on Jeremiah Love after this game if he just breaks one of those. Completely different.
Good call.
But overall, how can you not be excited, man? I mean, everybody besides the announcers who think that Jeremiah Love doesn't have speed for some reason, which was one of the dumbest comments I had ever heard in my life, that group is incredibly talented. The least talented back we saw today, probably Devin Ford, who's like pretty talented in his own right. Second is probably Jabron Payne, who also looked pretty good in the limited opportunities that he got today as well. That running back room is an embarrassment of riches, is the best way to put it. They need an offseason of physical development. And if it happens this year or this offseason, I think that we'll be talking about it this time next year of, wow, what a dynamic duo Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love was, including Keedron Young coming in, including Aeneas Williams coming in. There's a lot of talent in that running back room. And that was my takeaway with running backs is, could it have been more efficient? Sure. But we were also talking about redshirt freshmen, true freshmen. They'll get there. Jeremiah Love will get stronger. Jadarian Price will get stronger. But overall, you saw every part of their talent that you wanted to see in the game today, man. It's all there for the taking.
Ryan summed it up as about as well as it can be summed up. Look, Jeremiah Love, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, the jump cuts by Jadarian Price. Look, what Jadarian Price did today and the way they brought him along during the season and let him build up towards the end of the season was all about getting him through the season healthy coming off that Achilles. That point blank. They were not about to put a lot on his plate throughout the regular season. They played it correctly, and you saw him fresh in his bowl game, and you see what you have. He made a jump cut to the outside, I want to say, on like his 3rd or 4th carry. Up that on a play that wasn't there, it was supposed to go inside, and it's like, yo. And the one thing that he has the capability to do is get out of the arm tackles when guys are swiping at his feet. That's something that Jeremiah Love, as he gets stronger, even being slender, Jeremiah Love, when he runs inside, does not get pushed back. That's like the most impressive thing about the kid. The kid hits the hole. Patience, vision. Can I just make one request? Because I really don't have a problem. Because I trust Dylan McCullough and how he develops his running backs. So he's doing the right thing by Jeremiah Love. Notre Dame, can we get 12 in space next year? Do you see who he is when he's in space?
Like when he caught that touchdown pass?
Can we use him a little bit more out of the backfield? I mean, look, it is an embarrassment of riches, like Ryan said, but it is also a multiplicity of riches at the running back position because you're talking about guys that can do a lot more than we've seen.
Yeah.
And on top of that, look, can we please run the ball outside the hashes in the red zone? It's almost like when Notre Dame gets into the red zone, they only believe they can run the ball in between the hashes. It's like, use the entire width of the field. Like, you can score using the entire width of the field as well, especially with a kid like Jeremiah Love. Like, give him the option or a play where he can bounce it outside. Like, just running him inside when you basically have 11 guys inside the hashes on defense. It's like you're not even using his full capabilities of how he can impact the game. But other than that, that's nitpicking, man. Look,
Right.
Ryan summed it up, man. And I don't even want to go into like the nuances of it. You guys will get into that tomorrow when you go, and review everything. But Ryan, there's no need. But can you imagine Dylan McCullough the first day he gets his hands on that room when the freshmen show up? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you
Young is
kidding me?
already listed by Notre Dame at 225. It's wild, man. It's gonna be wild. Sean, I'm telling you though, man. Imagine next year when Jeremiah Love is about 205 to 208 pounds.
Mhm.
That's going to be the difference because that speed is going to be able to translate all the time. He just
Yeah.
has a little bit more pop in that lower half, man. He is going to be a dude. Jadarian Price puts on just a little bit more strength in his profile. Keydron Young comes in. You got the versatility of Aeneas Williams as well. That running back room is going to be sick. Like, it's going to be silly, man. There's so much talent in that room.
The top two, do you have a because I was thinking, I'm like, yo, are they like McFadden, Felix Jones? Are they like Chubb? I'm like trying to find like a 1-2 punch that they remind me of. But
I don't know if there's a duo that I can remember in the past that I would say like McFadden and Felix Jones makes a little bit of sense because Jeremiah Love is built a little bit like Darren McFadden, a little bit high cut, a little bit of a taller back. Felix Jones was a little bit shorter, a little bit closer to the ground type of thing, and they both had home run speed. I keep saying this, man. And I don't remember Ricky Waters playing for Notre Dame because I was a little too young to remember Ricky Waters playing for Notre Dame, but I do remember a lot of him in the NFL. And that's who Jeremiah Love, when he puts on a little bit of weight, that's who he reminds me of, man. Like, he looks like running waters, man. Like, he really does. So I guess the closest thing, though, to answer your question, maybe Derek McFadden and Felix Jones, like maybe that's the comp. I don't know, though.
Hey, they're going to make their own comp is what's going to end up happening. And the problem is for that room, I mean, you named off 5 or 6 guys that are going to be in this room. The ball can't go to all of them. Like, what is that going to look like, in the future? Is it going to be a complete room moving forward? But either way, whoever leaves, whoever stays, if they all stay, whatever, the running back room is exactly what you guys call it. It's going to be an embarrassment of riches for however they want to play it. And they can play any style. Like, that group can play any style, depending on who you want to be your lead guy. You bring in another fresh kid and you can run something completely different and be just as effective. But that, if you're Mike Denbrock and you're coming into this offense from the running back room that he had at LSU, which was, in my opinion, I mean,
he had our leftovers, right?
It was fine. It was fine.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was
injured, but it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
not as good as Notre Dame's, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
But now he's coming in and he's going to have these guys, if they're all fully healthy, and what he can do, just dream up a run scheme, and you've got guys that can do it. Like, that's going to be exciting, man. Hopefully we're going to see some creativity out of the offense next year from a run game standpoint.
And no one in that room seems upset with their role. Like, Dylan, I don't know what Dylan McCullough is saying to get everybody to buy in.
Yeah.
But
he says honesty.
Yeah, you're right.
He's honest.
Right,
that's why they bought in, Sean. I mean, we heard that during Jeremiah Love's recruitment. The reason that Jeremiah Love and the Love family fell in love with Dylan McCullough and the fit with Notre Dame was because he was honest at every single turn with them throughout that recruitment. So what is he selling? He's selling honesty, in my opinion, right? Ultimately, and I think Jeremiah Love and his family understand this, is if Jeremiah goes to the NFL and plays running back, it's actually better that you don't have a lot of wear on the tires, man. It's actually better for you long term. It's better for you to be a consistent player for 2 years, to be a contributor, and then maybe break out as a junior and be that dude. That's the ultimate trajectory, in my opinion. So sharing the football, having a great running back room, waiting your turn, sort of, but also still playing at a high level. Like that's the trajectory of a running back, in my opinion. And I think Dylan McCullough has just sold honesty to that running back room by all accounts.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Let's talk about the position that everybody was worried about coming in. They're not going to have the numbers. They're not going to be coached. They're not going to be this. They're not going to be that. I think the wide receivers played pretty well today, fellas, and they obviously had a new wide receivers coach for the majority of bowl prep in Mike Brown, which to the naked eye watching this game, there was already a noticeable difference in some of the fundamentals from that wide receiver room. I'm excited to watch it back and watch a little bit more closely. But, between Faison and Thomas, and then you saw a sprinkling of Greathouse. I mean, I thought these guys played pretty darn well, and they played well for Steve Angeli and caught the ball when they needed to, got open when they needed to, made themselves available for a first start quarterback, etc. But the wide receivers played well, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, the one thing that stood out to me when Marcus Freeman met with the media is that he talked about how Mike Brown came in hot. Like, he came in like, yo. But if you listen to Mike Brown at his introductory press conference, he talked about not coming in hot. And yo, these guys are already preparing for the bowl. They've been practicing. I'm just kind of going to sit back. And so it seems like somewhere up in there, like the coaching staff said, no, hey, go coach, be you. Don't worry about messing things up. We have everything set. And I'm glad they said that, because it seems like it had a profound effect on the entire wide receiver room. Like the way they ran routes, they were very sure of themselves. And I think we saw a glimpse of proper usage of the talent, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Jordan Faison inside, over the top, right? Being inside, the bunch formations they use early to get guys open, to get guys in space. Jaden Thomas is a perfect guy to work the middle of the zone, stop routes in the red zone, things of that nature. That's his strength. Using the wide receivers and putting them in position to do what they can do and use their strengths is what we saw with the play calling, the coaching, and like you said, even Matt Salerno on that catch late in the game. That was a great catch.
It
was a
was.
really
Going
good catch.
down. Really
Yeah.
good catch. So
Yeah.
look, you have to be impressed with what you saw all year. All you heard, they can't get off press coverage. They can't get open against man to man. They can't. Look, coaches, coaching, and the talent that Notre Dame has at the position, there's no excuse for Notre Dame not to have production out of the wide receiver room. And even with limited numbers today, you saw when you meld the coaching with the talent, this is the type of production you can get from the wide receiver room. So now moving forward with additions that are coming, double R,
Yep.
excitement is the key and the word of the day, right? With all the turmoil you went through with that room during the season and then after the season, to be at this spot, to have this performance in the bowl game, you have to be extremely excited about where the wide receiver room in Notre Dame stands, considering what has
Yep.
transpired.
I mean, Sean, I would put it like this, and I think you probably agree with this, Vince, but please correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought the wide receivers in general, they looked energized in this football game. And I mean, that's partly going to be because they just had a little bit of a layoff, right? And their bodies are feeling a little bit better and a little bit more healthy and all that type of stuff. I thought Jaden Thomas looked a lot healthier today, which was awesome to see. It was fantastic.
He picked up where he left off when he was healthy at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I mean,
I literally Sean, I literally texted Vince like that. Like, I was so happy with Jaden Thomas because I know obviously dealing with the hamstring, man, it was just something that was just nagging the entire year throughout the middle of the year. So I was very happy to see him back and healthy. But overall, because I mean, I didn't see Mike Brown coach. I don't know what impact he's had in the meeting room. Like, I have no idea. But based upon what I saw today, I thought they were a lot more energized and enthusiastic to get off the football. Looked like very clean route breaks to me. Even the plays they didn't come up with, I thought that there was compete level for the football in the air. But overall, outside of that, I think that they utilized the wide receivers from a coaching staff perspective in a great way today. Jordan Faison, the first pass play of the game, literally, they were lined up. I believe it was Jordan Faison in the slot, and it was Jaden Greathouse out wide. They short motion Greathouse and basically got him in the defender's face. Faison comes off his butt outside. It's like a little rail route, right? And it was miscommunication in the secondary. You know why it was miscommunication? Because it's a little bit of a rub, but it's also a crossing routes combination where miscommunication is going to happen, man. That was my favorite thing about this offense today is from a wide receiver perspective. One, I think they knew what their guys did well. I think they knew what they did well. I think they knew what they were trying to do with the offense or the wide receiver position in general. But Vince, they put them in position with some things that we have not seen enough of this year. They were stacking wide receivers. They were short motioning wide receivers. They were doing crossers. They were doing multi-level things to try to get a safety to guess wrong, try to get a linebacker to guess wrong. It was just different. They even ran some mesh in this game, which went for the play to Jaden Thomas on the big catch and run. That was a mesh play, but he wasn't where the eye candy was. They had literally like a little like flare out with I think it was probably Jeremiah Love, and then it was somebody else coming across the other way, and then Jaden Thomas was just like an afterthought, it seems like, except I think that play was designed to go to Jaden the entire way, depending on what the look was for the defense. So the offensive coaching staff in general, Mike Brown gets credit, Gino Guidugli gets credit, because we know that Gino obviously has a big hand in the passing game as well. The passing offense was a lot more creative today.
Yeah, agreed.
I saw things that helped players get into positions to make plays, and ultimately, for the most part, the wide receivers made plays. Jordan Faison is lightning in a bottle. Jaden Greathouse didn't get a ton of targets, but you saw in his one catch, specifically after the catch, he's got a lot of ability. Jaden Thomas looked healthy today. Matt Salerno made a really tough catch over the middle of the field. It was a really good catch. I feel like the wide receivers have been prepared well for this football game, and they were put, more importantly, in position to do what they do best on the field.
Well, and the wide receivers took advantage of the opportunities that they had, right? Jordan Faison was targeted 6 times, had 5 catches. Thomas was targeted 5 times, had 4 catches. Greathouse was targeted twice, caught the ball twice. Granted, he got smoked on one of them, but that was more a lack of blocking in front of him than anything that the quarterback or he did. And then Jeremiah Love had 1 and 1, and Salerno was 1 for 1, right? So they took advantage of the opportunities that they had. Angeli did a nice job of spreading the ball out, or you could say the offensive game plan did a good job of spreading the ball out. However it was executed very well on both ends, I thought. And they also allowed these wide receivers to make plays after the catch. And that was one of your keys to victory, Ryan, was allowing these receivers to make plays after the catch. And they did that today. There's no doubt about it. You saw Faison making plays after the catch. You saw Thomas making plays after the catch.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 121 yards after catch in this game.
Of the 230 passing yards they had, so more than half the yards were after the catch, which is a big number, obviously. It's a pretty big number. It's not quite number. San Francisco 49ers big, but like it's a pretty big number overall.
But still, but still, your point is still there, right? You allowed your athletes, your playmakers, to make plays. And that's what let's be honest, fellas, it's what we've been asking for all season. Let your playmakers make plays, and they did today. And that was a really, really fun thing to watch. I mean, they didn't always execute, but when they did, Notre Dame was basically able to do really whatever they wanted offensively at the end of the day. And that's why they ended up with almost 500 yards of offense in this one. So, and we can all agree that they left plays out there and they left points out there. Like, this could have been much worse from a score differential standpoint, guys.
Especially if you throw in like the tight ends into the wide receiver conversation, right? And we just make it a pass catcher conversation, because Eli Raritan should have had a touchdown on that one. Obviously, that was
he should have had 2.
Should have had 2.
Yeah, should have had 2. You're right. That was a nice defensive play by that kid to punch the ball out.
That was a good play. That was a good play.
Still,
Angeli just flat out missed him.
Yes,
the first time.
The first one. Yeah, absolutely.
That was honestly, that was probably Angeli's best throw of the day. Was the one that Raritan couldn't hold in the back of the end zone, because he was getting pressured in his face. I don't think he saw exactly where Raritan was. He just kind of swung it to a spot, and it was a beautiful ball, man. That was a really good throw by Steve.
Especially, Sean, go ahead.
Azon had beat the safety, and he threw
Yes.
it behind him and allowed the safety to get back in the play. That's a touchdown as well.
Luckily, Faison still scored a touchdown though on that drive.
On that
so
drive,
he vindicated himself, I guess, a little bit for that one, for sure.
And the throw to Eli was even better when you figure the original or the first time that they threw kind of a fade route into the corner of the end zone to Jaden Thomas. I mean, he completely airmailed that and threw it out of bounds. So he didn't even give Jaden Thomas an opportunity to catch that ball. But later on in the game, he gives Raritan an opportunity to catch that ball. So Steve, learning from his mistake and or just having a better ball, however you want to say it, I thought he did a better job on that one as well. So absolutely. So yeah, I mean, look, guys, I think at the end of the day, this offense was pretty darn good. Let's give out some game balls offensively. Sean, who are you giving your offensive game ball to? Or balls? You can give multiple if you want.
Steve Angeli has to get the game ball for me. And I know that's low-hanging fruit today, but look, for me, I just think what he proved for himself, I think is a tip of the cap to Gino Guidugli, not just for being the offensive coordinator, but for Steve Angeli admitting that, Gino Guidugli has been big for me in my growth as a quarterback. So Gino gets the double dip today, right? The double tip, as the quarterback coach and the play caller today as the OC. And then just like as I said before, man, like this is great to see with that narrative out there about development in the quarterback room in Notre Dame. Like it's a microcosm. And you still want to see it over the course of a full season, but like it feels good to see this type of performance from a guy that was evaluated, recruited, coached, and developed at Notre Dame. So Steve Angeli is my guy.
Ryan, what do you got?
Vince, I want you to go next, man. I know you hate Italian, so I want to see if you defer from Steve or not.
Well, as you also know, I don't like to repeat game balls. So
here we go. See this show? That's it.
It's always been my thing. I don't do the repeat, man. You guys do, but I don't. So I'm going to give my game ball to Jadarian Price. I thought he excelled in the opportunities that he had. Went over 100 yards, got in the end zone. I thought he ran the ball really, really hard. I think he did a really, really good job. I will, since I do love Italians, I will give my hat tip to Gino Guidugli because I thought he called a really, really good game. And he was the offensive coordinator in this game, even though I know that it was a group effort for the game plan and all that. And even Jared Parker had a lot to do with how they were setting up the game plan. Gino Guidugli gets my hat tip because he called a really nice game today.
I also do not like the double dip. I was just busting on you, obviously. So I'm gonna go with Jordan Faison, who I think won the MVP of the Sun Bowl.
Yeah,
but he made a lot of big plays, man. I mean, the busted coverage on the first one, I completely forgot. Brandon Plensner reminded me of that great catch he made down the right sideline, which was a tremendous catch.
Had a touchdown. That was awesome.
He also had that one where he caught the football and he did like two different spin moves and was just like a yak god on one play as well. So give me Jordan Faison for the game ball. But Steve Angeli deserves big credit. I probably end up giving Coe game balls, to be honest. But yeah.
I was actually surprised that Steve didn't get the MVP, if I'm being honest. I figured that's the way that they were going to go with it. Not that Jordan Faison was not completely deserving of it, but I thought they were going to go to Steve Angeli. But either way, we have given game balls to Steve Angeli, Jadarian Price, and Jordan Faison.
This chat is wild, man. Someone said busting on you might go viral. Like, guys, come on, man. Not everything goes viral. Can we not be kids? Honestly.
Wow.
Like, what? All right.
I haven't made any crazy takes yet, so we're not going to go viral just yet. All right. So that's going to do it for the offensive side of the football. Make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, share with your family and friends, 5-star review, all that fun stuff. But stick around because we're not done yet. All right, let's jump on to the defensive side of the ball, fellas. And this was the side of the ball that I was the most confident in coming into the game. And they did not disappoint in any way, shape, or form. Al Golden was just kind of sitting back with his feet in the air, just dialing up whatever he wanted, and those guys were executing. I mean, this against a piecemealed offense, which I get. Notre Dame had a piecemealed offense too, okay? But against an Oregon State offense, third-string quarterback, yada, 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 we know all of this, the storyline there. But Al Golden said, I don't care. I'm still coming at you, and we're going to dominate you from start to finish.
Yes. Sean, can I take you back to a wonderful time of this past offseason when there were several people that were like, fire Al Golden. He stinks. He's awful. He's terrible. And hey, talk about guys proving people wrong, right? We like a good underdog story. Al Golden shut everybody up this season, my friends. I mean, he came into this game defensively. Their team was only giving up about 16 points per game. Notre Dame was, and they were playing tremendous ball. And it was a masterclass today, man. It really was. Again, context. Oregon State's down to their third string quarterback. They have some defections off the offensive side of the football. But ultimately, Al Golden just called a great football game. He didn't change his vantage point of playing defense at all. He was like, I am an aggressive guy. I am going to send extra numbers all the time. I'm going to be aggressive. And ultimately, Notre Dame, who had a couple guys that were playing bigger roles for the first time, they came to play, man, and they were flying around and they were enthusiastic doing it. I think that was my biggest thing. Even when guys, I would say, probably were a little bit unsure as far as like what their key was, what the responsibility was, played hard, man. They moved very fast and they played with energy, which was great. So this is just, it's not even a hat tip for this game. It's just like a permanent hat tip for the 2023 season. Notre Dame defense all year was very good, man. It was very good. And they should have dominated Oregon State offensively today. And they did dominate Oregon State offensively today. Except for a garbage, touchdown, against some backups.
Nice play. Well, it's a nice catch. I mean,
let's get some backups though. I mean, let's go on what it was. I mean, it was. So Notre Dame overall, though, defensively, they were stifling today against the Beavers.
Yes, they were.
Look, man, the only complaint I ever had about Al Golden is that sometimes he's too aggressive.
Yeah,
That's it. Sure. Like, but aggression, I expect, look, the confidence that Defense Henson had in his quarterback because he had played in some big games for them or had played previously, in my opinion, was like him trying to give confidence to his team. But it was misguided because I'm like, yeah, he's played, but he has 5 interceptions in like limited time. So he'll turn the ball over, which actually he didn't turn it over like I thought he would a couple of times in this game. He was close a couple of times with some errant throws. But other than that, I knew that they were going to try to heat him up early, right? Especially without the big running back in that running game. Because I don't think Notre Dame feared the running game, especially with the offensive line at all.
Right.
They were like, dude, we're going to heat this dude up. And the most impressive thing, Double R, when backups come in, that's when the defense starts to get vanilla, right? When you watch, they go to more zone coverage, defensive backs are 10 yards off the ball. The backups came in, and Al Golden was like, no, the defense is the defense. Like Chance Tucker was man-to-man on that play. They were coming after the quarterback, and Chance Tucker didn't, it wasn't like the kid made a heck of a catch.
Yeah, he did.
A heck of a catch and barely got his knee in bounds for the touchdown. And Chance Tucker had decent coverage on the play. And that's what I was impressed about, whether it was a Don Shula, Ben Minich. I think they went after a Don Shula, when he came in with the tight end a couple of times, but then you saw him adjust and start to cover a little bit better.
Don smashed the ball carrier on his first plays too, man. Absolutely. He was playing hard. Yeah,
absolutely. So I love the fact that, and I think this is all season, the word I would say is accountability. Like, be accountable. Know your job, do your job, because we're not letting up. If you're a backup and you come in the game, we're not letting up because you're on the field. Right. This is how we play. No, they are setting the tone for what Notre Dame defensive football is going to be under Al Golden. Like, when we come get you and recruit you, this is what you expect. We're going to pressure the quarterback. We're going to create turnovers, and we're going to play fast. And kids have to love seeing that. High school kids have to love seeing that, right? Defensive backs have to love seeing that. Linebackers have to love seeing that. So, you can break down like individually what you saw, but what you saw was just a flat out dominant performance and the ability of Al Golden, which he's done all year, whether it was a Heisman Trophy winner or a third string quarterback, the ability of this Notre Dame defense to make the quarterback uncomfortable was once again on full display.
No doubt. No doubt. There's a bunch of numbers I could throw at you. I don't think they converted a third down the entire game. They
Or they
were
0-8, right?
On the
Or something
last
like
drive, that was their first conversion.
they
On the
okay.
last drive.
Yeah, and they had 1 4th down conversion, and that was on that last drive, right?
Mhm.
The best number to me that I think tells you kind of where this team was throughout the entire game, through 3 quarters of football, Oregon State gained 112 yards of total offense. 112 yards of total offense. Okay. They were, and 110 of those were passing yards, by the way. In the fourth quarter, they had 85 yards of total offense when they were just slinging it around, trying to, it was mop up time. Again, Notre Dame's backups to the backups were in, etc. They almost doubled up their yards from the entire game in the fourth quarter, and it was only 85. So Notre Dame still kept them under 200 yards of total offense, even though they gave up 85 yards in the fourth quarter. I mean, the numbers are astounding. The defense was just in this kid's. Branson didn't have a prayer, man. Like, even when he was able to get passes off, he had guys dropping the ball. And then, of course, their little scat wide receiver, number 7, he was out with an injury. He didn't play in the second half. And
Silas Bolden.
Yeah, not that the game wasn't over at that point, but it was like now they've got no prayer offensively.
That was the only guy that made you worried a little bit, right? Like,
like you thought maybe he could break one because he had some speed. He had that one nice catch around the corner that he was kind of tight roping the sideline, the whole thing, and he was talking some trash and the whole deal. I was like, okay,
I would take him at Notre Dame, man. He's a good football player. I like Silas Bolden.
100%. 100%.
Bolden? Yes. Yeah.
But when he went out, it was like, okay, what do they have? I mean, it was rough sledding for them offensively, and a lot of that had to do with what Notre Dame was doing to them defensively. I mean, Al Golden was bringing the heat on that first drive on 3rd down. It was 3rd and long. He brought, I think, both linebackers. I mean, and Branson didn't have. I mean, he was like, if he had a white flag, he would have been waving it. I mean, it was just they forced Oregon State to play their game from start to finish defensively. And it was a great game plan. The kids executed it extremely well. I thought the tackling was really good in this game. We didn't see a bunch of missed tackles, to my knowledge. It'll be interesting to see like what Pro Football Focus has to say, but I didn't see a lot of missed tackles in this game. I thought they did extremely well in that category. I thought the open field tackling was really, really good. And look, just top to bottom, this defense just played a heck of a game. And again, I had the most confidence in Notre Dame's defense coming into this. I don't know that I would have said the first team's probably going to pitch a shutout. Like, I don't know that I saw that one coming, but so they played even better than I thought that they were going to play. And that's saying something.
They really did. I mean, I think I ended up predicting them to give up 13 points, I think, right? Like still below the season average, but I thought there would be one against the first teamers and then another one probably when the game was a little bit out of line and they were able to score there, right? I mean, so ultimately it exceeded expectations, I guess. I mean, but like for me, this defense, like I don't think they can exceed my expectations at this point. Like if they would have pitched a shutout, I would have been like, sounds about right with what this defense has been doing this year. Like it's no surprise at all. I mean, so yeah, I think that Al Golden had a great game plan. I also think that he utilized, and I think this is important, some first-time starters as well, Sean. Like we saw Jalen Sneed. I thought he used Jalen Sneed fantastically.
Just trigger him, man. Let him go get the football. Like, yep.
Used a couple of the edge rushers, I thought, really well. I think the linebackers were flying around for the most part. There was a couple guys out of position at times on the second level, but like overall, I thought they utilized some very unique football players. And I'm looking at you, Jalen Sneed, because you are very unique. I mean, they were literally talking about him on the broadcast. I thought that was the one good thing they said was like, man, that guy just is everywhere. They asked him to do a little bit of everything. Like, is he a rover? Is he a linebacker? Right. Is he a defensive end? It's like, yeah, it's a great point because he is kind of your Swiss Army knife a little bit. He moves around a ton. And I think that takes a good defensive coordinator to understand how to use a guy like Jalen Sneed, for instance.
The SEC guys, you could tell that they were upset that was their assignment and their only post-regular season assignment. And it was funny that Danielson got thrown under the bus. Nessa put it out there like, oh, Dad, we know you're just ready to get to the golf course, dude. Like, and you could tell they did absolutely zero research. They were just guessing. Right?
They talked with more confidence about the hospitality room than they did about either team, Notre Dame or
Absolutely.
Oregon State, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was ridiculous. And I want to say, once again, what we talked about offensively with the offensive line, it was the same thing when the backups came in on the defensive line. They just did not. We saw Jason Onye make a play, right? And dude, Jordan Botello flashed today.
Yeah, led the
Made
team
a couple
tackles
nice
today.
plays, right? He had the tip. They turned it over. They thought it was a fumble.
All right.
He got his arm. He chased him down from the back on the other sack on a big. What was that? Was that the fourth down? Or was that a third? That was a fourth down. Yeah.
I believe it was a fourth down. Yeah.
Yeah, fourth down in the first half. Like, look, they really had some big time plays from the entire defense at every position, right? Benjamin Morrison took away a couple of passes early in the first half on a crossing route.
Yeah, that give me interception at the end on the Hail Mary.
On the Hail Mary, right? He tipped the pass that Kaiser almost picked off. Every Christian Gray had some plays. Like we said, Don Schuler made some plays. It's like, dude, you just look at the defense all over, and everybody made plays. Jalen Sneed from the first series, that's the guy that was all over the place. I thought he was really good in coverage as well. He created some trouble in coverage for a couple of passes by Culberson. So, look, this entire defense was locked in, whether it was first team, rotation guys, second string guys, third string guys. They came in and played really well. They really did.
My favorite play of the game was, from the hilarity of it, was the Benjamin Morrison interception, Sean, because you saw him. He looked like Debo from Friday, man. He was just pushing dudes out of the way. He's like, that's mine. Get out of here. Fine. It was hilarious, man. Hilarious.
That was funny. And you could tell he wanted to take it back.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to take it back.
I thought if he was able to get away from the one the wide receiver that caught him from behind, he might have had a chance.
Yeah.
He might have had a chance because all the skill guys were behind him because the ball was woefully underthrown. And so all the skill guys were behind him. If he outsteps that one guy, it's him versus the offensive line and the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a chance he takes that back to the house, man.
That was Botello again. The reason it was short arm is Botello had great pursuit from the backside and got hit on the quarterback on that play. So, man. Yeah, absolutely.
No, 100%. But yeah, the defense played so well, guys. Let's talk about this defensive line because everybody except for Jean-Baptiste is coming back next year, and I believe. And this was a defensive line that just wreaked havoc all night long. And they were going up against some inexperienced guys on the offensive line, but they absolutely took advantage of that opportunity and turned it into the advantage that it was supposed to be. I mean, they didn't play down to their, opposition. They didn't do any of that. They said, look, you're going to put a true freshman on the offensive line. We're going to make him look like a true freshman. You're going to put a sophomore on the offensive line, doesn't have any experience. We're going to make him look like he doesn't have any experience. And they did that from start to finish, beginning to end. I mean, it was a masterclass from the defensive line on what they were able to do. They kept, obviously, they allowed 2 yards rushing. That speaks for itself. And obviously there's sacks involved there. And I get that, but they allowed 2 yards rushing. Okay. So they didn't allow the offense to get loose from a running standpoint. And we talked about it, Brian. This is a team from Oregon State that is a run first team. They want to run the football. They are a physical downhill running team. And Notre Dame said, not today, not in El Paso. That's not going to happen. And then of course they had 4 sacks to go along with it.
It was, I think the major takeaway from the defensive line overall, because I think you made a great note, Vince, outside of Javonte Jean-Baptiste, everyone could come back next year, right?
Yeah.
Defensive line wise. Sean, I don't remember the last time Notre Dame had an interior defensive line this deep coming back. I don't remember it, because you look at today. I mean, just today, Howard Cross had a sack. Riley Mills had a couple pressures and looked pretty good, in my opinion, in the run game, especially.
Yeah.
Jason Onye had a play. Gabriel Rubio had a big run stop where he absolutely smoked the running back. Donovan Heinisch had a little bit of penetration on a couple plays. And that doesn't even count Ormel Mukum. That doesn't even count Devin Houston, who we didn't see much of in this football game, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Interior defensive line coming back is going to be stalwarts. It really is. Because my main takeaway was the depth of this defensive line, especially on the interior, is about as good as it's been in several years. Like I can't remember the last time the interior defensive line at least was this deep. And then you also obviously had Jordan Botelho gave you a really good game, his best game of the season by a landslide.
Oh,
Javonte Jean-Baptiste just does his thing, man. Like he's just a good football player. We didn't see a ton of Joshua Burnham impacting defensively. I know he got in, but he wasn't like a huge impact player defensively. But even him on that fake punt, man, like that was a tremendous play by Joshua Burnham. So overall, the defensive line for me, my opinion, was the biggest mismatch of this game on either side of the ball. The offensive line for Oregon State had no answers for them, man, because they just sent them in waves. It's like, oh, Howard Cross and Riley Mills are gone. Cool. We can kind of wipe our brow for a second. And here comes Gabriel Rubio, Jason Onye. And it's just like, there's no stop. There's no let up in this group. This is a deep defensive line, especially on the interior for Notre Dame. I think the depth was the biggest mismatch of the day.
I think in order to find this type of depth, you would have to go back to what? Not even early in the Kelly era, because a lot of the youngsters were playing. You know, when they had Curry and then they got to it.
Yeah.
They added depth, but they were really young depth. Maybe, you know, once Sheldon Day got added to the mix, maybe the depth was close to there, but I would have to go back to like the days of like 2001, 2002, maybe when you had the veterans like Campbell up front, but Justin Tuck was a pup in the class he came in with, and those guys are really good, maybe. But you're right, man. It's been a while since you've seen this type of depth. Because we're going to go into the spring asking, like, oh, is Brendan Vernon going to be able to crack and get snaps? Is Devin Houston going to be able to crack the rotation and get snaps? And the guys they have coming in, Sean Sevillano is coming in early. And
Sean,
you're spot on with that double R.
Sean, you remember when we had Sean Sevillano on the show and he was talking about like he's coming in to win a starting job. And like, I love Sean and I love that attitude. I'm like, man, that's going to be a little tough next year, bro. It's going to be a little bit difficult. But regardless, that just adds to the depth. You're going to bring in him. You're going to bring in Logan Thomas and Bryce Young and all these dudes. And it's just like, man, it's going to be a really deep defensive line. You need to get a little bit more impactful from the Viper position, from the outside pass rush perspective. But like defensive line wise, I think this was a microcosm of this team moving forward today, is that like they are a deep group, man. And we're 2 years removed. You remember this conversation, Vince. Everyone's like, Notre Dame needs to get 300-pound guys. They don't have any 300-pounders on the interior. All of them are now, just about. Like, it's wild. The transformation the defensive line has taken in just like 2 years.
In a very short period of time. Yeah, just like you said. And you know, you talked about Al Golden being on the hot seat, according to some fans. Let's talk about Al Washington and the hot seat that he was apparently sitting on, according to many fans. And to a degree, rightfully so, when it came to some recruiting misses and some, you know, maybe some underwhelming play on the field. He's earning his paycheck these days, in my opinion. And I think he did a great job, you know, with this group, and he continues to do a good job because, like you said, without development and without getting these guys in the door in the first place, you don't have that first wave, second wave, third wave kind of a situation that we have right now on the defensive line if you're a Notre Dame fan. So, you know, Al Washington should get a tip of the cap here for the job that he's done throughout the entire 23 season, because he was not getting a whole lot of love from people, I think, going into this season, and did a really, really good job, in my opinion, with this particular group. And today was just kind of the icing on the cake for what this season was. And then projecting on into 24, only losing Javonte Jean-Baptiste, which ended up being a huge loss, which I don't know that anybody would have predicted this time last year. But, you know, all these guys are coming back. Like somebody in the chat said, with Mills and Cross coming back, like that impact cannot be understated for what this 24 team is going to be. It can't be.
No. And Vince, just like you said, in double R, I'm sure you can talk about this because this is right up your alley. You know, Javonte Jean-Baptiste has improved how scouts looked at him from the time he left Ohio State and the time he's leaving Notre Dame. I don't know if it's night and day, but it's definitely different. It's considerable.
It's definitely different.
Yeah,
He's a completely different football player than what we thought he was. I mean, even when he came to Notre Dame, I expected him to be, a situational pass rusher, kind of help you do that type of stuff. And I mean, Sean, he was not a run defender at Ohio State. He was just not used in that capacity. And he put on the weight. He was only like 248 pounds, I think, for Ohio State last year. Now he's in the 260-pound range, 260-plus pound range. He's a lot more physical. He sets a firm edge. Yeah, I think that he's a glue guy on the next level. I think a guy that you just like dependable day in and day out. And that's what he was for Notre Dame this year. The box score is not going to tell the story of how important Javonte Jean-Baptiste was for the 2023 version of Notre Dame. He was a very good football player this year for Notre Dame.
And like Vince pointed out, who knew, right? And now it is like one of the question marks of the defense next year, right? Who's going to be the big end? Like, because he was so consistent and so good at what he did and what he was asked to do. Now it's like, okay, who steps into that role? And look, I love what Al Golden does, because you talked about the two guys that are returning. He wants to get you in 3rd and long, because he knows I have a guy in 56 that I'm just going to make sure he gets a one-on-one. And if he gets a one-on-one and can rush the passer, he's going to either move him off his spot or he's going to get the sack and make the play. And when
you
you
mean
have
the guard or
like
the center hug air on that sack, man. Yep,
right. Dude. It was just like, did he even get touched? And dude, the crease was about this big. That's what's so amazing. Like,
he does such a good job of getting skinny and getting through, holes on that offensive line. He does such a good job of that.
Yeah. So you have to be excited about the leadership they'll bring, right? Coming back for those youngsters, showing them like, this is how we do it here at Notre Dame, which is something that you talk to the older players from the Lou Holtz era. That's a speech that they would get at the beginning of training camp. Like, look, shut up. You don't know anything. This is how we do it here, and we're going to show you. And Riley Mills and Howard Cross, hopefully they bring that to the young defensive linemen that are coming up behind them.
Completely agree. Let's go next level. Let's talk linebackers, fellas. We got to see JD Bertrand in his final game in a Notre Dame uniform. Jack Kaiser, the two of them obviously played a bunch. You kind of referred to Jalen Sneed already and how they used him in a very effective way. We also got to see some other guys kind of, get some time at the linebacker level. So, guys, what are we thinking about how the linebackers played on first glance?
I mean, you don't give up 2 yards rushing and the linebackers don't play well, right? I mean, that's just kind of baseline stuff of like, yes, they played well because you just don't do that. Like, that's not a normal thing, right? I mean, overall, I didn't notice JD a ton, but that's not always a bad thing, especially when you're not giving up a ton in the run game. I mean, like,
he wasn't credited with a bunch of tackles, but like, I didn't see him like out of place, at least watching the game.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would imagine that he was just mostly in the right spot all game, which is fine. He was doing his job, right? Jalen Sneed, I thought, was a very impactful football player, especially early. They had a clear plan for him to be an attack player and to be able to utilize his speed. And I think that he made a huge – I think that he's a little bit demoralizing to Oregon State's offense early. They're just like, dang, dude, that's a second-level guy for them. Like, he's faster than just about anybody we have offensively. Like, it's debilitating. It's demoralizing. It is not a great situation to be in. And then, honestly – a lot of people bag on Jack Kaiser and cool, whatever. Jack Kaiser, I thought, was a very underrated piece of this football game today, man. He made one incredible play out in space early on in the football game. He also covered up on a wheel route in a pretty important, I think it was only like 7-0 at that time, maybe 14-0. Like, it was still pretty early in the football game. He did some of the little things that kind of go unnoticed by some because it didn't really like him covering up that wheel route. Doesn't go into the stat sheet like, oh, here's a cover the wheel route rep. Great job, Jack. Like, no one talks about that. No one keeps a stat for that. But he did a little bit of the small things that you don't go kind of discounted in a football game. So I thought Kaiser did well. I thought JD was probably in the right spot. Again, didn't notice him a ton. I thought Jalen Sneed was really, really good and impactful in the role that he played today. So overall, linebacker play, gave up 2 yards rushing, less than 200 total yards offensively for Oregon State. You can't have that type of outcome if your linebackers didn't play really well.
Yeah, completely agree. Go ahead. Yep,
it's well said, and you love the rotation that you saw, right? players are playing different positions. You know, Drake played weak. He played middle. They paired him with Jaden Osbury. They paired him with JD. They paired him with Kaiser. Like, we talk about like toys, right? At a position, the linebacker position might be the next after running back where you really have a lot of things you can do with the talents in that room, especially with the ones that are coming in and the ones you have coming back. So Al Golden has a lot to work with there. And I think he does a great job of allowing those guys to go out and play fast. Jalen Sneed was like the perfect example, man, of like, yo, we finally figured out how to unlock this kid. So now we know how next year I think he's gonna be one of those pieces where you use him to wreck offenses. Like, this is the guy offenses have to identify, okay, where's 3? Where is he at this play? Where are they bringing him from? Because, I think he's going to get better. He's going to play faster. He's going to know exactly what's being asked of him. And that linebacking crew, man, in that room I didn't see Nolan Ziegler. I
saw
missed him.
Ziegler. Ziegler was
Yeah.
in the
He
game at
played?
one point.
He was trailing. When I saw him, he was trailing on that pass play.
Yeah.
There was
He's 31,
he got
right?
double moved.
Isn't he 31?
Yeah.
No,
He's 30.
Ziegler's 34, isn't he?
No, that's Drake Bowen.
Drake got beat on that double
I'm
move.
sorry.
Drake got beat on that.
You're right.
Double move.
31 was Minnick.
Yeah, Ben Minnick got in the game.
I'm mixing up numbers then.
Yeah, Nolan is 42.
That's 42. There you go.
42.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see him, but again, it was
hard. Micah Bell got in the game, so
he did get in the game.
Everybody played, and it was really good to see those young guys play. I think behind running back, the linebacker crew is like, we expected to see the talent. We've been asking, okay, where's this young talent? We know it's there. When do we get to see it? And I think we kind of got to see what the future is. I think people were talking about Drake Bowen on a couple of plays looking slow, and it's like, dude, Drake is still.
He was just in the wrong position. Like it was just like a miscommunication thing, and he got in a trail position where he just didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. It was not an athleticism issue.
It's not. Oh, I saw one play though. I think it was like a 3rd and 2 late in the game. And he knew exactly where, and he just blew it up. He blew it up and got a tackle for loss. So it's like that's the glimpse where you say, okay, when he knows what he's doing, that's what we expect to see more consistent.
I think Jalen Sneed might be one of the more important players for Notre Dame next year going into the season, because he's the type of guy. And this is going to sound slightly disrespectful, but I promise it's not disrespectful. Like, I swear on everything, this isn't disrespectful. But you don't necessarily game plan against JD Bertrand to like, oh my God, that guy's a game wrecker. I need to get him out of the football game. You don't do the same against Jack Kaiser, but you do against number 3, because it's like, that kid can blitz off the slot. That guy can tuck at times. That guy can blitz from multiple gaps, inside and outs. Like, he's a little bit of a movable chess piece, similarly to like again, not comparing them because their body types are different, and one guy's an All-American, right? But like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was the same, where it was just like I had to account for Jeremiah in every single spot he was at all the time. And Jalen Sneed could be that type of player potentially, because he seemed more confident in what he was doing today. He seemed like there was a very enthusiastic plan about how to utilize him. He can really, in my opinion, kind of change the format of the 2024 version, because, man, he's the guy that every single snap, you have to know where number 3 is, or else he could be a free blitzer on almost every play.
No doubt. And he's going to be a fun toy for Al Golden to use moving forward. Just and like you said, the one good thing that these announcers said in this game was he can play on the edge. He can play at linebacker. He can play in space. Like, you can move him around. You can do all kinds of stuff with Jalen Sneed. Will he be a quote unquote starter? Maybe. But I don't know that he needs to be that specific pigeonholed starter guy. I don't think that's who he needs to be at his potential. I think that he needs to be that guy that you plug in different places and bring him from all over the place. And whether that means he's a starter or not, great. But I don't know that he needs to be that. That's just me moving forward. I think he can affect this game in so many different ways. You could bring him in like a NASCAR package and bring him off the edge. You could bring him in at linebacker and have him blitz up the middle. You could bring him in space and in a rover type position and guards. There's a million different things you can do with Jalen Sneed, and that's what a great guy to have at your disposal if you're a defensive coordinator.
And Vince, you can relate to this as an educator, double R. You can relate to this as a film evaluator, and as Notre Dame fans, like we all can relate to what we saw from Jalen Sneed today, right? Because you see promise in a kid, and you believe in them, and they don't quite believe in themselves. Whether it's you as an educator, Vince, and then you finally get the moment where you see the light go off, and you finally get to see them actually walk in their promise, and that is like a huge smile moment. For everybody. And this is a huge smile moment for Notre Dame fans that have expected this type of stuff from Jalen Sneed from the moment he committed to Notre Dame out of South Carolina. So, yeah, he is definitely. I know we don't like to double up on game balls, but it's a good chance that that might happen when we get to that point with the defense.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right, boys, let's talk secondary, and then we'll give out our game balls here real quick. I thought the secondary overall, guys, they did their job. I mean, Benjamin Morrison did his job. I thought Christian Gray had a nice little coming out party as a starter over there. I mean, he had a couple of nice plays, and the commentators, I thought it was funny. They're like, Oregon State needs to figure out a way to back up these corners so that they're not playing so aggressive. Good luck. I don't see that happening anytime soon with the way that they were playing. So I thought those guys played well. I thought Jaden Mickey played really, really well with the opportunities that he got both on defense and on special teams. And so, this, and then of course, Xavier Watts was just silently led the team in tackles, which I thought was fantastic. So, and by the way, Ryan Roberts, he got half a sack. Remember I said he was going to get a sack in this game?
Yeah.
He got half a sack.
I noticed it was 0, man. I saw 0 pop up. I'm like, oh, okay, man. All right,
he got half a sack. I'll take it. But I mean, overall, the secondary absolutely, did their job. Like I said, they had 110 yards passing going into the fourth quarter. And then basically the 2s and 3s gave up, another 85.
Suffocating, I guess, is the word again. I mean, from a coverage perspective, it's like couldn't create a ton of separation against Benjamin Morrison, couldn't create a ton of separation against Christian Gray, couldn't do so against Jaden Mickey. Sean, you mentioned even guys like Micah Bell got some run, and Don Schuler played in the game, Ben Minnick played in the game. It was really good to see. Safeties, I thought that Xavier Watts, they didn't really test him in the passing game, so he impacted the game in other ways, which was great to see. DJ Brown was the consistent force that he's been throughout the majority of the season, in the fact of you don't really notice him, which is great. That means he's in the proper position. It's a lot of the JD Bertrand stuff that we were just talking about. It's dope, man. It's a good place to be. So I thought the safeties were rock solid, impactful in certain areas. I thought the cornerbacks were sticky and just really good in coverage. It was just not an easy day to complete a pass today, especially after their top receiver went out for the majority of the game. But overall, it was just a really good coverage day from the secondary.
Yeah, that was tough, right? They lose the top receiver, and then Fenwick goes out with an injury. It's like, okay, that's pretty much the 2 playmakers. Like this is unfair.
Sean, at one point I was like, man, are they just going to take Goldbranson out and just like throw somebody in? And I'm like, they don't have anybody else. What are they going to do?
They don't have anybody else. There's nothing they could do. And look, the coverage, like you said, suffocating all day. You know the thing that impresses me the most about Christian Gray? This kid is such a leader, even as a freshman. Like this is not a kid that feels like he needs to take a back seat. Like every time he's on the field, he's talking before the snap, he's talking after the snap. He's a leader, he's a communicator, man, and he is comfortable in his skin as a freshman. This is a kid that knows already, like Benjamin Morrison, he knows he's good. He knows he needs to put in work to get better, but he knows he's good. And to go into next season with those 2 dudes, look, you talk. I'll take your lead, Ryan. Look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I promise you, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Okay. There's a chance that the combination of Benjamin Morrison and Christian Gray could actually be better than the combination of Cam Hart and Benjamin Morrison.
It's possible.
And Cam Hart was fantastic this year.
Yes, he was.
Possibly the defensive MVP. Like Cam Hart was that good this year.
Yes, he was.
I'm just saying the possibilities of the tandem next year, and I'm not trying to disrespect Jaden Mickey by any means. I'm just saying there's something there that could end up being one of the best DB tandems in a long time in Notre Dame.
Yep.
It really could.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, not only that, as far as like Christian Gray being really talented and probably not being a much of a step down from a talent perspective, but it's also just the defensive back room, the cornerback room in general is just going to get deeper, Sean,
Mhm.
too, right? It's
Yeah.
like Jaden Mickey's in there, whether he's in the slot or outside. Cool, you're good to go there, right? Then you got guys, the Micah Bells of the world that played a little bit today. Then you're going to have the Carson Hobbses and the Leonard Moores coming in, and it's just, and you also Chance Tucker that was playing in this football game. Like, you're going to have a lot of depth in that cornerback room, which is, again, kind of like what I said with the interior defensive line. When's the last time Notre Dame had a cornerback room this deep? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it's been in my lifetime, possibly. I don't know.
The flip over of depth of the cornerback room has been almost as impressive, or maybe more so impressive than the flip over of the defensive line room. Like, just because, Notre Dame has had some good singular corners, over the years, but they never had the depth and the complement that they have now at the cornerback position. You know what I mean? Like Julian Love, good corner, right? But when he went out, they were in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They did not have that depth, right? And that's just one example, but they have not had the depth at corner that they have now and that they're going to have in the future. And I think that's what makes the biggest difference, in my opinion, about this cornerback room, and why it's also so important to keep Mike Mickens around as long as you can, because of the cornerback room that he has developed is second to none depth-wise in the country, in my opinion. And you're absolutely right, Sean. Look, nobody's a bigger Cam Hart fan than I am. I love me some Cam Hart. I think he played tremendous when he wasn't injured. Tremendous.
Absolutely.
And I think he can be a really, really good pro as long as he can keep the injury bug away, right?
Yep.
But Christian Gray and Benjamin Morrison, that is going to be one hell of a tandem next year. One hell of a tandem. And the depth that they're going to have as well is going to be really, 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 really good. And so whether that's Jaden Mickey coming in and playing the nickel, or whether he's a guy that just kind of fills in for the other two guys because they never played the same two guys the whole time, whatever it looks like, whatever it's going to be, they're going to be deep and they're going to be really, really good. And it's also going to allow the aforementioned defensive line and linebackers to pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback.
Aggressive.
Oh,
and Ryan, just because of the pedigree, the same thing we said about the offensive line. Between Leonard Moore and Carson Hobbs, somebody's going to play.
Right.
100%.
Somebody's going to be ready to play.
The question is which one.
The question is which one. That's it.
That is the question for me. I mean, Sean, we talked about that on National Sign Day. It's like, is a freshman corner going to play in 2024 in some capacity? I think the answer is yes. Which one is it? Not 100% sure. I think it could be either one. It depends. It really does.
Yeah. Right. Nope. Couldn't agree more. All right, boys. It's about that time. Let's give out some game balls. Who wants to go first? Let's go.
I would like to give my game ball out to Jaden Mickey because, for one, I think that there should be like 2 game balls for this one. One should go to the entire defense because I think there was a lot of headliners and a lot of standouts. But I wanted to give it to Jaden Mickey because I'm sure everyone has obviously heard about the story. I know they talked about it on the announcement. I know it's been on Twitter. I know it's been on the message board, obviously, with his mother passing recently, who was having a long bout with cancer. And I just want to send condolences first and foremost to the Mickey family, to Jaden included in that, to everyone involved, because I know it's a very tough thing to be able to deal with that, especially when you're probably a 20-year-old kid that is a student athlete at the University of Notre Dame. As if that's not daunting enough, now you also have to deal with your mother being sick for a long period of time and passing away. So I put on Twitter before this game that Notre Dame was going to smack Oregon State for the Mickey family. I put that on Twitter. And they did just that, man. So outside of just we're glad to be Irish fans today, I am a Mickey fan today. And I just wanted to send my condolences and congratulations to the entire Notre Dame football team, to Jaden Mickey more specifically for winning this game. And I'm very sorry. Truly, I wish that I could quantify it better than how I'm doing right now. But I just hope that family is okay, because I know that it is a just terrible tragedy that they're working through. But he gets my game ball. He gets the number 1 game ball for today.
Look, I lost my dad a couple of months ago, and then did a post-game show and thought that I was like, man, muscling through it and doing a great job. Like, I don't think there's any way I could have done what Jaden Mickey did today. You know what I mean? Go out there and play at a high level in a bowl game. And look, I'm sure that he looked at it as he's with his brothers, he's with his family, they're lifting him up and all of that. And I get all of that. And that's why I wanted to hang out with you guys during the post game show when the same thing happened to me. I'm a 43-year-old man, right? He has a lot less life that he's gone through than I have. And I was a disaster. I can only imagine how he had to deal with this whole situation. So that is something that I will always remember, and what he's had to deal with and what he's going to have to deal with, because during that little 3-hour span, you can kind of, play the game that and play the game that you love and be around the boys and everything else. It's going to be when he lays his head down tonight and he's in bed and he's thinking about it. And that's when it hits you, man. That's when it gets you. And I do not, envy him right now. I'm glad that he was able to spend some time with his mom and everything. And I'm sure that was all well and good, but nothing can prepare you for when it actually happens. And so obviously, I might be thinking about him and his family and how they're going to get through this. And it doesn't matter that she was diagnosed like 3 years ago. You cannot play. You just can't prepare yourself for that actual moment. You think you're ready, but you're not ready.
Yeah. I think it's really well said, Vince. And I would just, hats off to the Notre Dame family, all his brothers, for being by his side today and getting a big 40-8 victory. Honestly, we should open with that, man. Just a great job by ND Nation. Not only just the players, the coaches standing by him and him being able to play the game that he played, but also all the people in this chat, man. All the people in this chat, all the people on Twitter that are sending their condolences, all the people on every social media sending condolences. This is a family. At the end of the day, right? We bicker, we yell, we get upset, whatever. At the end of the day, I don't think there's one single Notre Dame fan out there or supporter or someone associated with the program that isn't just with Jaden Mickey right now.
Right.
You have to be with him right now.
100%.
Both of you guys spoke so eloquently about it. And I'll just echo that, when it comes to how important family is, especially in times of need. And, the timing of it is what's really stood out to me, right? Like, you never know when it's going to happen. As Vince said, you're never ready when it does happen. And, my prayer would have been, if I could have prayed for it to happen in a certain way, would to have been allow her to see one more game.
Yeah.
For her to go the night before the game is, my prayer would have been for her to be able to see her son play one more time. And even in saying that, you talk about what you dealt with, Vince, and how you soldiered through. And then Ryan talks about the love that exists in Notre Dame Nation. And as content curators, I say it all the time. So much meat on this Notre Dame bone for all of us that cover Notre Dame to talk about it and to experience the love that exists in ND Nation and the fans worldwide is something that I can testify to going through my own battle. Like, it was therapeutic for me when I could to do a show every now and then. And that's one of the things I live for, and live for that love that exists amongst Notre Dame fans. And it's going to be that same love that continues to uplift Jaden Mickey from this day forward, because it won't be something that's, he'll be okay in a week, he'll be okay in a month. No, man. This is going to stay with this young man for a very long time. When he gets married, it's going to be with him.
Oh, yeah.
When he has his first child, it's going to be with him. And I'm sure his brothers, the brotherhood in Notre Dame and that locker room is lifetime. So I'm sure they're going to be with him even when he goes to the next level and continues on in life. And that's what's so special about being a part of the program. And that's what's so special about being part of the Notre Dame fan base and curators and creators. We are a part of something very special. And a day like this is what makes you appreciate being a part of it even more. So, as you guys said, condolences and prayers out to Dr. Lamar, Jaden, and the rest of the Mickey family on what is an incredible loss. And my submission to them would be to hold on to 2 Corinthians the first chapter, the second chapter, verses 1 through 3 in this time and in this season.
On that note, let's go ahead and cut
Tough
the defensive
transition,
side of
Vince.
things, man.
Tough
It's a tough
transition.
I know, right? We're going to cut the defensive side of things. I think we've said all we need to say about defense, guys. And everything that was just said. You guys did a great job with that. And guys, make sure that you jump in, you give us that like, give us that subscribe, the notification bell, all those fun things, and make sure you follow along because we've got 9 months now of off season that we get to talk about this team and what is coming down the pipe in 2024. So that's going to do it for this portion of the IB Nation Sports. No, this is not IB Nation Sports Talk. That's later. This is
Rock show.
Gosh, I'm losing my mind. Irish breakdown. This is Irish breakdown right now.
I'm the other Sean, Vince.
Man.
I'm the other Sean.
Jeez, you can tell you where my head's at. I'm all over the place right now. But we're gonna have a ton for you. We're gonna cut this part. We're gonna jump into the super chats. We got a bunch there sitting in the wings, ready to go. If you guys want to get a super chat in, make sure you put it in, and we will get to it today. But since we have so many super chats, we're gonna stick to those in this mailbag. So we're gonna jump into that right now. All right, we're going to start off big here, folks. I'm going to live over here in the starred section, guys, and I'll just pull them up, and you guys go to town. Here we go.
All right. Am I reading these? That's how we're doing it here?
Yeah, why not?
Let's do it. All right. K. Grant with the super chat, a big one. K. Grant, we appreciate you as always, my friend. Big win heading into next season. Go Irish. Yes, sir.
Appreciate that, K. Grant. Always giving us a big one right off the bat too. That's awesome. We got a couple of good ones in here, by the way, fellas. So this should be a good time.
Matt M with the super chat. Matt, thank you so much. We very much appreciate it, sir. Jordan Faison and Charles, the artist formerly known as Charles Jagasaw, make me feel even better than I did about next year's offensive line. O-line. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase. Let me start, Matt, because I don't want to mess up your super chat. My apologies. Jordan Faison and the artist formerly known as Charles Jagasaw make me feel even better than I did about next year. O-line, you separate those things.
Yes, oh man, look, Jordan Faison. I hate to say how lucky are we that so many of the wide receivers got injured this year, but if that didn't happen, I don't think we get to see Jordan Faison, and I don't think we get to see what he was able to do. He has been a revelation. The kid can play. When you can play, you can play, and this kid can play. And obviously now we're handing him off to the lacrosse team. But I mean, this kid's going to be an integral part of this offense moving forward, fellas.
Right. That dude has practice at 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
That's ridiculous. Give the man a day off. Jeez.
Is that what it is? 8 o'clock in the morning?
That's what they said on the broadcast, man.
Oh my gosh.
Jordan,
you poor person. You poor person.
I'm on a flight right now, dreading going to practice tomorrow.
Coaches would probably allow him to kind of like ease into practice.
You're good. Yeah, you're good, man. Yeah. Spend a little extra time in the ice bath or something like that. Like, yeah.
He'll be physically in attendance. I can't imagine that he's going to be doing. It'll probably, be an indoor practice, that kind of a deal. Although it is unseasonably warm around here right now.
They probably will break attendance records next year. You got Tyler Buckner playing on the squad. They're defending the championship. Jordan Faison. Lacrosse will probably break all the attendance records at Notre Dame. That field that the football players were on will probably be full every game.
That's great. That's so true. They're going to have to play a couple games in Notre Dame Stadium. That's what's going to have to happen because they're going to sell out that little lacrosse stadium that they got.
If the attendance wasn't already going to be great after them winning a national championship, right?
Seriously.
Like, geez, man. Geez.
No kidding. Yeah. Come on. Like, how can we forget that run that they had? Like, I am not a fan of lacrosse in any way, shape, or form. I watched the championship game, and I was cheering hard for the Irish. Yeah. And, so
I hope I'm completely oblivious to lacrosse. I really am. So I don't even know the coach's name for Notre Dame, the lacrosse coach. But he would be a G if like Jordan walked in and was like, dude, I could care less if you're a Sun Belt MVP. Get on the line. Let's go. Love it.
Well, Kevin Corrigan is the head coach, and he's been the head coach for a long time. I'm trying to figure out when. I mean, his picture on the website looks like it's from 1987. Well, I'm not far off. He's entering his 36th season
Wow.
as the head coach. So
I need to start getting into lacrosse, I guess, man. I guess this needs to happen at some point.
You're on the East Coast. How are you not into lacrosse?
seriously,
My high school didn't have lacrosse. We didn't have
Really?
lacrosse. So like I didn't play. I didn't know anything about lacrosse. I never even went
Heck,
to a
we
lacrosse game.
have
when I was in high school.
lacrosse in the Chicago public school system now. I mean,
yeah.
You know, it's funny. Like so a couple of our neighboring towns, they were incredible at lacrosse, but for some reason, my high school we didn't have lacrosse. We had girls lacrosse. We didn't have boys lacrosse. So
mm,
We have both. We have both. They use the soccer stadium at the high school I'm at. So, and I have to supervise some of those events. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, here we go.
Erica Seifert, thank you so much, Erica. Very much appreciate the super chat. Speed. The O-line played well. Looking forward to next season. Go Irish.
Said it pretty well right there. Notre Dame is not lacking speed. Anybody says that they are has clearly not watched a Notre Dame game. And
I think Erica hit the biggest two biggest keys of the game. The lines were dominant, complete. That was a mismatch for them against Oregon State. And when they're asked to do things that they're good at, Notre Dame looks pretty fast, right? They look very fast. So yeah, speed, and a really good line play on both sides of the ball.
no doubt. All right, Irish Steel is firmly entrenched in the Angeli camp.
Irish Steel with the super chat. Thank you so much, Irish Steel. We very much appreciate you. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. Steve Angeli tied Riley Leonard passing touchdown total in this game. He didn't from the total in 2022, though, when he was healthy. But whatever.
oh boy, I have to put you and Malik in a pros and cons podcast on this.
Let's
topic
do it,
here.
man. I'm down for it. I'm down for the bag. Let's do
Oh,
it.
sign me up to be a fly on the wall of that podcast. I want to watch that one in real time.
Oh, God.
That's what I want.
I heard this conversation with who's the gentleman that does Locked On Wolfpack, Sean, that you guys have on sometimes. I was on his podcast before, but I forget his name.
You're talking about Ken Gibbs. Yeah, Ken Gibbs.
Yeah, I heard Mr. Gibbs and him on the podcast when you guys were discussing, and that was an interesting conversation.
Oh, I just sat back and just let it ride.
Hey, for the Riley Leonard 20 touchdown passes that we're talking about in the chat, don't forget the 13 rushing touchdowns he had too. I guess those don't count as touchdowns. You're right.
No, they don't count. They don't count. Those don't count. Sorry.
On Duke.
You'll
on
get
Duke.
points for those.
That was terrible the year before. That was awful the year before. Sorry. Oh man, whatever.
Oh, it's so funny. This is gonna be a great 9 months, fellas.
It's
That's
gonna
all
be
I
fun,
gotta
man.
say.
It's gonna be so fun. 33 total touchdowns in 12 games or whatever it was. But yeah, he sucks. You're right. Sure. Sure.
But I mean, Steve Angeli, he has 3 touchdowns a game. So just multiply it out. That's all you got to do.
Oh, he threw for 7 touchdowns with 75% completion in mop-up duty. Oh, man. Relax.
Oh, we got a good one from Joe.
Joe Papini, what's up, Joe? Happy birthday, Vit. Is it Vit's birthday day?
It's
Yeah,
your
it
birthday,
is.
Chris? Happy birthday, bro.
Tell us, man. What the heck?
I don't like to boast about the birthday thing, but yeah, this is the big 4-3, man. Today.
Now,
Man.
Vince, look, man, it's only fair that your birthday is a big deal because the way you and the missus make a big deal about the birthdays for your children, you deserve a little bit better than just, super chat. Happy birthday, Vince. No, heck no. We got to, let me.
Happy birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
dear Vince.
Happy
Day to go ahead, end it, Double R.
Oh, boys. Oh,
Happy birthday, Kenny
boys.
P.
You guys are great. You guys are
Absolutely.
We just lost like 200 people off the stream. I hope that was worth it.
It was 100% worth it.
Yes.
Yo, hey, freeze me some of that birthday cake after the show.
You got you, baby. I got some left over. I got you. I'm still at the age, or my kids are still at the age, Sean, and you can appreciate this, and Ryan, you will appreciate this as your kids start to get a little bit older, where birthdays for me are a bigger deal to them than they are to me. Like, they love celebrating birthdays, you know what I mean? So at least the younger ones, they really love it. So yeah, it's always a good time, and it's always over break, so I never have to actually work my other job. So I was sarcastically complaining on Twitter that I have to work here on my birthday, but come on, 40-8, that's a pretty nice little birthday present. I'll take it. So
happy birthday, Vince, man. That's
thanks,
awesome.
fellas. I appreciate it. You guys are the
best.
best.
You got a big victory on your birthday today.
I know. It was stress-free. It was awesome. That was fantastic.
Someone said they're going to unsubscribe if we keep saying it.
I mean, they're probably not wrong, but that's okay. Bye.
Oh. Irish Steel with another super chat. Thank you so much, sir. O-line U. These guys are going to be dominant. Got the tools to be, man. There's no doubt about that.
And they got the depth to be. I mean, they're going to be banging heads against each other, over the next few months. And this offensive line is going to be good.
Hey, Double R.
Yes, sir.
Biggest challenge for Rudolph. Figuring out the 5. Do you think that's going to be the biggest thing?
It's going to be. I don't know what they're going to do at guard next year at the one guard, right? Like, Sean, I think what we saw today is that the inside track should be for Charles Jagasaw to start. The artist formerly known as Charles Jagasaw to start at left tackle, for Ashton Craig to start at center, and for Billy Schrott to start at right guard. The other two positions, though, look, there might be a possibility where Pat Coogan just comes back as the incumbent because he's experienced. I guess that's always but I think that there needs to be a competition at the one guard for sure. Yes, and right tackle, is going to be Tosh. Does Emil get a fair shot? Does Gerby Lambert come in and be that guy? I don't know. So there is a couple spots that I'm just there's going to be a couple open competition, man, but a lot of talent, obviously.
There's a ton of talent there, and it's another position at Notre Dame and it's been this way for a while, I suppose, but it's a pick your poison, and it's a embarrassment of riches, whatever term you want to use. Because even the second string guys that came in, who were really third string all season, still dominated Oklahoma State. Now, I don't know if that was Oklahoma State's ones that were still in the game. I honestly have no idea. But they were paving the way for those other backs to score a touchdown. I mean, Skip Velada had positive yards. Chase Ketterer had a touchdown. They were just – Chase Ketterer didn't get touched. He ran through one arm tackle, I think, and that was –
You know what he looked like? You remember? He looked like you remember the Terrell Davis touchdown in the Super Bowl where Green Bay was like, "Don't touch him," and he just walked in like this because he couldn't see. It was just that's what it was, man.
Yes, it was.
He had both arms around the ball, like in the old fullback drills of getting low and running.
No, he wasn't fumbling that sucker. That's for sure.
Oh, he was not.
You get your chance to carry the football, you're not fumbling it. So I mean,
and did it right.
They've got a lot of options there on the offensive line. So that'll be a fun storyline to follow into the spring and then into the fall as well.
We had A Clayton 47 with a super chat, $40.08. A Clayton, that's fantastic. Love it. Jadarian Price looked different when he gets the ball. Did the offensive line look bigger, or was Oregon State just much smaller? Does Marcus Freeman have a conversation with the lacrosse coach about protecting Jordan Faison? I think partly to the first question there. I mean, Jadarian Price looked very explosive, and he looked like he was running a different gear today. There's no doubt, running hard. The offensive line, I think it's a combination. The offensive line is big for Notre Dame that played today. But the other part is we talked about this week, Vince. The Oregon State defensive line is good. They're very productive, but they're not huge. I mean, across the board, the 3 down is 6'5", 290, 6'3", 280 something, and 6'3", 266. It's not a big defensive line. It's just not.
They're fast.
So I just think that you saw that Notre Dame is substantially bigger than them. No doubt about that.
Yeah. And as far as the last part, good luck telling Faison to slow himself down or play half speed or, whatever. And I have no idea what position he plays. I assume he plays like a forward, a scoring guy, or whatever you call it, lacrosse. I don't know anything about lacrosse because he's fast.
Is it a midi? Midi sounds right. I don't know.
I don't know. The only midi I know plays at Navy. So that's all I got. But good luck telling him to slow down and not go like 100%. Like that's never going to happen with Jordan Faison based on the little bit that I know about him. So, it is.
I was not ready. I was not ready for that Navy point there. That was great, man.
It's the only midi I know.
Aiden Benami, thank you so much. This one's for Mama Mickey. Proud of this team. Absolutely.
Love that. And we got another one in that nature right here.
A. Clayton with another one. Prayer for the Mickey family. Could not agree more to that sentiment.
Yep. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely.
Aiden with another one. Thank you so much, Aiden. Very much appreciated as always, my friends. What a great way to end the season. Tons of positive momentum, and Marcus Freeman's culture is coming together. This is just the start of something special. Love watching the game that isn't close and we dominate.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take boring when Notre Dame is dominating. I'll take boring because the fourth quarter was boring. But I'll take it when Notre Dame's doing what they were doing. And, it was a great showing by Notre Dame. It was fantastic. It was great. And you're right, tons of momentum going into the offseason. And I will also say this, they showed on the sideline at one point, Steve Angeli, like picking up Marcus Freeman and being all excited when Ketterer scored that touchdown. Does that look like a guy who's getting ready to transfer to you guys?
No.
Not at the moment.
I'm just saying, at least not today. Yep. At least not today. So I love that little moment that they caught on the sideline. I thought that was great.
I did get a little irritated though. As a cereal guy, that was a lot of Frosted Flakes that was wasted.
Wasted.
A lot of Frosted
Completely
Flakes.
wasted.
Just wasted, man. I was like,
it could have been worse
man.
for Coach Freeman. Did you see the Duke's Mayo Bowl? Did you see that one?
Oh.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
You're right.
Dude, no chance. Like if I'm a head coach going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I'm like, okay, I'm coming, but not doing that. No chance.
I'm losing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sabotage my team's chances to win somehow, so I don't have to get doused with Duke's Mayo. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
But you're right, Sean. I noticed the same thing about those Frosted Flakes.
I'm a cereal guy, so
he's going to be picking Frosted Flakes out of places that he doesn't talk about at parties for quite a while.
The best one is the Cheez-It Bowl, because I would just be like, give me all the Cheez-Its.
Give me all the Cheez-Its. You would take that one over the Pop-Tart?
I mean, what did they get in the Pop-Tart Bowl? They like posted a big one. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah. And it was quite the production. Like the guy in the suit like goes down into the toaster and then out comes a giant Pop-Tart. So you're kind of eating the guy that went into the like it was quite the production.
Do you think it's actually a good Pop-Tart though, or is it just for show? I mean, that'd be my question. Is like, is it actually like fundamentally
they were chomping on it, but they were chomping on it, bro. So
I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, man. What flavor was it? Did you guys notice? Because there's
hopefully it was a strawberry one.
I heard strawberry. I heard strawberry.
As long, I think we can also agree that strawberry is the best Pop-Tart by a landslide. I hope that we can agree with this on this podcast.
I hope that's pretty common across the world.
Yes.
But then again, I took a poll of the best way to eat prime rib and steak the other day, and medium rare won. And I was like, wow, I'm
a medium guy. I'm a medium guy.
I'm a medium guy as well.
I am too. Yeah. Medium rare is a little too red for me.
That's more that's burger land for me. Like I'm a medium rare burger guy. I'm a medium steak guy. That's me.
I go the other direction. I go a little medium well for the burger, medium for the steak.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I'm also the same. I said the wrong thing there. Medium well and then medium. Not
medium rare. You're getting a little blood in there too. It's
no.
Too red.
Yes.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
Oh boy. All right, here we go. Irish Steel with another one.
Irish Steel, this group of young guys is better than we have seen in years. Freeman is on fire. Notre Dame is on the rise. Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, that's a great point because, going into next year, year 3 of Marcus Freeman, et cetera, like now we're going to start seeing quote unquote, right? His guys starting to take some more prominent roles. Like his guys have been backups or they've been in there a little bit, right? Now we're going to see his recruiting classes, especially defensively, because he had a little bit extra time defensively to recruit some guys, right? But we're going to start seeing more Marcus Freeman recruits getting on the field, and we're going to see more of the team that Marcus Freeman envisioned. And then in 25, like it's a full-on scenario. You know what I mean? Like I feel like 24 is going to be the first year that we actually get to see some of the guys that Marcus Freeman has envisioned to be on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get more of the full vision. I would agree with you, right? Because there's I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? Because there were good players before Marcus Freeman got there, but ultimately, the team that Marcus Freeman is envisioning long term at Notre Dame, we're going to see more close to what his vision is in 2024 for sure.
Because it's not like basketball where you can just go out and recruit some guys that are going to completely remake your team in one season. Like that, that's just not possible unless you get a Caleb Williams in the portal or something like that that can completely transform your team. That's not how Notre Dame rolls, right? And they've made it very clear they're building their team from the high school. They're building their team through recruiting, right? And then filling holes with the transfer portal. But like, we're going to start seeing who Marcus Freeman thinks this team should be. And I think we're all going to be it's going to be fun to watch. If today's bowl game is like a peek into the future, I think we're all going to really enjoy what this team is going to end up looking like. All right. We're just going in order here. Man.
Item with another one. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, fellas, for all the great work this season. No better place to love, follow Notre Dame football, and get great football info as well. Love IB Nation. Doesn't stop, Iden. On Monday, I'm traveling down to San Antonio for the All-American Bowl, so make sure you're tapped into the content, my friends. Make sure you're tapped in.
It's coming. And it's coming.
And I'll be down at the combine in the end of February too, and I'll be able to talk with some of the Notre Dame players that are going to be at the combine. So make sure
is that still in Indy,
man? Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. You should meet me out there, Vince. You and Sean meet me out there.
You should come down and visit. We'll have to see how the schedule lines up. Come on, man. Let's go.
Get a nice medium steak from St. Elmo's.
My fit. Yes, come get some St. Elmo's, man, for sure. Yeah, I love Indy because everything is so close together, and they have the skywalk and everything too. Where like I don't need to rent a car. You know what I mean? I just go there and I walk everywhere. It's great.
You're not wrong. Yeah. You're not wrong. Everything is within walking distance. It's fantastic. So how long are you going to be down there? Because it's like a week long, isn't it?
Yeah, it starts. So it starts technically on like the 27th, and it goes into the 4th. But I'm going to be there from 28th. I'm going in late, and then I'm leaving on the 3rd. That's when I'm planning on being there. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
February 28th to March 3rd.
That's probably when we'll get the snowstorm that we haven't gotten yet this year.
Hey, man.
Just saying.
Tyler Evans, thank you for super chat. In one word, describe the 2023 Notre Dame team and season. One word?
One word? That's tough. Because I could do 3 words, like that kind of a thing, but like one word.
No, one word. We got to do one word. That's the super chat, man.
We are beholden.
Gosh.
This is tough.
Yeah, one word is tough.
I'll go first.
Yeah, please.
Dysfunctional. It's been my word all year.
You're not wrong. In a lot of ways, you are not wrong.
A 10-win dysfunctional season.
Yeah.
That's what it's. Well, we can go back to the Ohio State game, how that ended.
Yeah.
We can go back to the stuff in the off season, the OC hiring, and just dysfunctional, man. Everything was just from the jump, just out of whack, and they still won 10 games.
They still won. That's the thing. They still won 10 games. And the crap they had to deal with the wide receiver room and they still won 10 games. Like, that is actually pretty impressive.
I think my word's closer or like almost something like that, right? I mean, I really did watch this season. I'm just like, Notre Dame is closer than I think they have been throughout the majority of my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, I really do think they are. They're not there, obviously, and there's a couple blunders of games in this season, which is kind of the frustrating aspect of it. But I do think that they're trending. I'll say trending. Because trending could go one of two ways, right, Sean? Like, trending doesn't always have to be trending up. Sometimes trending is like a little bit of chasms, right? So I'll go trending.
I'll say ascending, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's like this. I mean, it's kind of like this. You know what I mean? Like it's a step up from last year, obviously. It's still disappointing. It's not at all what I thought we would be talking about on December 29th, 2023, because I didn't think they would have played their bowl game at this point. If I was making bets at the beginning of the year. And so I do think they're taking a step in the right direction. It wasn't the stride that I was hoping for. It is a step. They're doing a lot of things off the field that I really, really like, but that needs to translate to on the field. And 24 is going to be a big, big, big opportunity for Notre Dame. A big opportunity, because we're talking with the schedule that they've got in front of them, with the talent that we all think that they have, the depth that they have. Not only should they make the playoff, they should be making some serious noise in the playoff. So if that happens, then I like where this team is going. If it doesn't, we're going to be having obviously an even different talk, this time next year.
Right.
So ascending.
It's good.
All right. Super sticker.
Thank you, Townie Irish. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you very much. And then Irish Steel back with another one.
Irish Steel, Jadarian Price is better every down back, in my opinion. Are we saying than Jeremiah Love? Because, I mean, I need to see a little bit more before I come to that conclusion. I mean, he had a better game today, but...
Yeah, if we're just going based upon the regular season, you can't say that.
I mean, better all-around back also means, catching the football
Passing,
and blocking. Right. And, I mean, Jeremiah Love made the big catch in the passing game today for a running back, right? So, I mean, I think there's a lot of layers to that conversation. So,
yeah.
We should be thankful that we have both. That's all I have
absolutely.
to say as a Notre Dame fan.
100%. We're splitting hairs if that's the argument that we're having. Let's just put it that way. We are splitting hairs.
Ryan Elliott with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Ryan. Great first name, by the way. Townie Irish with another super chat. Thank you. This was the first sellout of the Sun Bowl since 2010, Notre Dame versus Miami. Too bad Notre Dame's not a big brand. LSU fans are trying to tell me on Twitter, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah.
No.
I swear to God, yeah.
LSU fans are saying that? Dude, you talk about a regional brand.
I have a weird LSU fan that keeps messaging me all these data about Notre Dame's not relevant and stuff. I'm just like, all right, man. I haven't blocked him either. I'm just like, you can keep sending. I'm not going to reply to you, so it's fine. But
wow,
the brand goes no further than the state of Louisiana. Literally, are you serious?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep. All right, let's get another. Thank you, Townie Irish. Appreciate you on that one.
Yes. Sean Stewart, loved the game, and Angeli was dropping dimes. Go Irish. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, my friend.
I keep forgetting the New Year's right around the corner. Happy New Year to everybody out there. I'm still
very close.
Man. I think I'm still getting over Christmas. There's pain in my wallet still getting over Christmas. So,
hey man, at least you didn't have to pay for a root canal right after Christmas. So you know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong about that.
Yeah,
you are not wrong, sir. Do you guys go out and celebrate New Year's? Is that a thing that you guys do?
Not anymore. I used to love going out for New Year's, but I have 2 kids, so like, what am I going to be
you can
doing?
always blame the kids. I get that. What about you, Sean? Are you a New Year's guy?
Dude, my New Year's Eve was always spent in church growing up. So, it wasn't. Recently we've been inviting people over to the house.
Okay.
Right? Because we're done at like 10 o'clock. So we're home for the countdown and all that stuff. So
gotcha.
But no, I haven't gone out to like I would love to do that. I would love to like travel and actually hit up a nice party.
Yep.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
one year when I first met my wife, I got super drunk on Halloween and passed out at like 10. And then my wife returned the favor by passing out at 10 on New Year's.
Oh, boy.
Fantastic. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
don't know. I'm just not a big New Year's guy. I've never really understood the excitement. No. That's just me. I don't know. Just the calendar turn.
Now, New Year's Day has been fantastic because my grandmother always cooks her famous gumbo. Ooh. So that's always fantastic.
Gumbo and football? Sign me up.
Man.
Sign me up.
What do you call a New Year's Grinch? That's what I'm going to call Vince, whatever that word is. Grinch, you're Grinch.
You're not wrong. I'm just not a party guy. That's just never have been. All right.
Ugh.
Anyway, here we go. Corey Ruth. It's a new name. What's up, Corey?
Corey, thank you so much. Looks like Eric Dickerson. It's the high cut thing. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
High cut, long speed. I can get there. I get it.
Needs the goggles.
Yeah. Oh, the rec specs are great. You
There
know
you
what's
go.
funny is I think Jeremiah does wear glasses sometimes, so he should
Does
wear
he?
the goggles. It'd be
See?
great. Yeah. Yep.
Just throw it back. Just throw it all the way back. I love it. I love it.
Well, we got Bryce Young coming in with the rec specs next year, Sean. How
Mhm.
debilitating is it for an offense that's like a 260-pound monster has goggles and we're getting killed?
We're getting smoked by him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Randy Hernandez with the super chat. Randy, thank you so much. Thanks, IB. Had a great time at the meetup. I believe he went out to San Antonio
nice.
and was with Brian and everything yesterday.
I heard it went well. I heard there was a pretty
A
decent
lot of
turnout.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's
That was
awesome. I'll never forget the meetup for the Fiesta Bowl. We were down there. We had a great time with everybody. Pretty much filled up, the one side of the bar, and just had a great time watching some football and eating some appetizers and talking ball. And I'm sure that's what went on last night. So glad you're able to make it, Randy. That's awesome. Thanks a lot for the super chat as well.
Yes, sir. Irish Steel with another one. I mean, Irish Steel is emptying his pockets after
Yeah,
Christmas.
he
Thank you
is.
so much. How much did the Sun Bowl make you excited for 2024? A good amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more like a steady climb type of guy, right? Like I don't usually get like pumped up super early. I'm more like it's getting close. It's getting close. Now here
Just
we
because
go.
we have so much content to talk about over the next like 8.5, 9 months or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I wish I could turn the page and just be at the beginning of next season so that then I'd be a lot more excited about what the Sun Bowl was, right? But there's so much that needs to happen between now and then. You got spring ball, you've got the transfers coming in. We know they're going to have more guys leaving as well because they're sitting at 89 scholarships. So they at least got to lose 4 more guys. And so this roster's not going to look like you think it's going to look going into the fall. So it's going to be a lot of changes, but it was fun to watch this young group of kids go at it and being able to let them showcase their talent on both sides of the ball, all of that. So absolutely, it gets me excited for 24. No doubt about it.
Yep.
All right.
Next one's from Casa Hodge. Thank you so much. Is it fair to say that Jordan Faison is in the wide receiver room is or can be a dude? # Go Irish. I think it's obvious. I mean, I don't care if he was a walk-on or 5-star, ending the way that he did and forcing his way into the rotation and having the ability that he has as far as being a space player and winning vertically and having speed. Like, would I be shocked if Jordan Faison's the best receiver for Notre Dame in 2024? I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be slightly surprised because I think a couple guys are going to take nice steps and you got a couple transfers coming in. But I think Jordan Faison's going to be a very good player for Notre Dame.
Yeah, he already is. Yeah.
Yeah, he already 100%. But he can't be he can't be the only guy. I'll say that. And I'm not saying you guys are saying that that's the case, but Jordan Faison can't be your one, and then you've got like a big old chasm before you get to like 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like in order for him to be as successful as he can be, he's going to need other guys to step up as well so that he gets a lot of one-on-ones and favorable matchups in the slot against a safety or an outside linebacker or something like that. Like that's where Jordan Faison is going to excel. Now, if nobody else steps up, it's not going to be difficult to shut down Jordan Faison because you just bracket him and don't let him run by you and, things of that nature, right? So he's going to need help in order to reach his potential. But I love the way the kid plays the game, and that's never going to change. So I think he can be a dude, absolutely. But you're going to need to see some other guys step up too.
It was kind of like Hunter Renfrow at Clemson, right? Like he was really good at what he did, but I mean, when you have Mike Williams on one side and you have another guy on the other side,
absolutely.
Now he becomes even better. So, if they get the outside production that they're projecting from the guys they have coming in the portal and in the 24 class, now you talk about what Eli Raridan, Mitchell Evans, Jordan Faison, Great House, what all of those guys can do in the middle of the field with attention being outside as well. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And
Yeah.
he can be a dude. If he can just specialize at certain things and work to his strengths, he definitely can be. Dude, yeah, he can.
Yeah.
He can.
No doubt.
John F. with the super chat. Season 3 as a member of IB. Thank you for another great season. Counting down the days until kickoff already. Go Irish. What? How many days are till kickoff?
I don't even know what's the date of. What's
Well,
the date
there's
of the
still
first
like
game?
a possibility of there being a week 0 game, right? That hasn't been announced. So like we actually don't know when.
Yeah, I don't know when they're going to
officially
fit that
starts.
Army game in. I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. When?
Because obviously that's the rumor is, and it hasn't been like fully verified that it's going to be week 0 against Army. So whenever that game is played, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. Because right now, when is the first game scheduled?
Like
It's
August
Texas
27th,
A&M.
right? It's August 27th, I believe. It's the last week, Saturday in August.
August 31st. August 31st.
Okay.
Yep. Hey Siri, how many days till August 31st? 8 months and 1 week, it says. So whatever that comes out to. Siri was not very helpful when I asked for days.
Yeah, man. She needs to convert it to days. That's absolutely, that did not help at all. Didn't help even slightly. Thanks, Siri.
8 months and what? Yeah, I don't even know how to compute that. So because there's whatever. It's a ways away. But yeah, I'm excited too, John. There's no
246 days according to Karen in the chat. 246 days. We will
Karen to the rescue. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. All right, here we go. Next one.
Irish Steel with another one. Ohio State versus Missouri score predictions. We had it on the site. I had 24-23 Missouri. I think it's gonna be a close game, but I also think that Missouri just probably want to be there a little bit more than Ohio State. Like that's just kind of the vibes I'm getting. They probably want it a little bit more. So give me Missouri tonight.
What do you got, Sean?
I trust Drink, his play calling, along with Moore. And I think it's going to be the running game of
Cody
Missouri.
Schrader, or whatever his name
Cody
is.
Schrader that really ends up winning. Because look, whew, that wide receiver core might be the best core that Ohio State has seen all year.
Yep.
And you're right. I think they do want it more. I think they want it more than Ohio State.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. And obviously Ohio State's going to have a different quarterback. And whatever they've got going offensively, guys opting out. I don't know. I don't know what the roster looks like for Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State's a 4-point favorite in this game. I will say at the very least, Missouri's going to cover that. If not win outright. I got Missouri by 3. I think that they kick a field goal to win the dang thing. Remember, their field goal kicker kicked like a 62-yarder or something like that earlier this season. So if it comes down to field goal kicking, give me the Tigers, baby. Go Tigers.
Yeah. And that front seven from Missouri has been pretty solid all year, too. They'll get after you. So I think all of us picked Missouri. I know I picked Missouri.
I may or may not have submitted any of my predictions this time around. Just gonna put that out there.
Too busy partying on your off week, man.
It was really poor timing. Really poor timing on that. Not that I have any good excuse. I don't. I have no good excuse. But I think we set a record for suspensions on the last day of school, which I think was also the day that he sent it, and so it definitely got buried. It
went to the spam folder.
It really did. So sorry about that, everybody. But I would have picked Missouri, and I'm going to pick Missouri. So there we go. Clint with just an exclamation, which I love.
Go Notre Dame! Thank you, Clint Beastwood. Fantastic name.
Ooh, that's a great name. I don't know if that's a real name or not. But
it's definitely not a real name. No one's named Beastwood.
It could be, right?
Nobody's named Beastwood.
I know. Wouldn't that be great? Beastwood. That'd be awesome. Love
that. Tim O'Peel. I'm sorry, Tim, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. I probably am. My apologies deeply. But thank you for the super chat. Great season, fellas. Thanks for making it more enjoyable for all of us. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. You guys make these shows enjoyable, having you guys in the chat. And it's also going to make the off season much more enjoyable as well to have you guys stick around. So as much as we make it tolerable for you guys make it tolerable for us because we know we're not just speaking into the abyss. So we appreciate that very much as well.
Jay DeLutis. Jay, thank you so much for super chat. My only complaint is get Jeremiah Love more touches in space and Dev give me some more outside zone. Lots of young guys played well today. Go Irish. Yeah, we talked about that a lot. I want to get Jeremiah Love into increased space, whether that be a buck sweep, whether that be a stretch, whether that be an outside zone, whether that be screens, whether that be flares, whatever. Get him out in space. 100% agree.
Yep. And I'm hoping we see that moving forward. I mean, I know we didn't see enough of it today. To be honest with you, they didn't need to. I mean, they didn't need to be that much more prolific in the run game than they were. I would have liked to see it. I think that's where he can excel and he can shine. And so I'm hoping once, Coach Denbrock gets his hands on Jay Love, we're going to see more of that of him in space. No doubt about that.
We had Michael Graves with a super chat. He said, thoughts on this being Jack Swarbrick's last game as athletic director? I don't have a lot of thoughts about it. I mean,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it. He did a lot of good for Notre Dame and
did.
Cool. It seems like the next chapter set up pretty well as well. So sure.
Absolutely. He did a lot of really good things for Notre Dame. There's no doubt about it. He set them up, obviously, for the ACC to have all the Olympic sports. He set up for Notre Dame to be, locked into this new playoff agreement as well, that they've got a seat at the table. I mean, he's done a lot of really, really good things for Notre Dame. And I know that he, people like to keep him as the pincushion, for Notre Dame athletics and the way some of the stuff went down in the offseason. I get it. I understand where you guys are coming from. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at his entire 16-year tenure at Notre Dame, he did some really, really good things for Notre Dame. Campus Crossroads, the new indoor facility if we're just talking football, right? The new indoor facility for the football team. They're going to completely renovate the Goog, like all these different things. Those were all under his watch. So you got to remember that he did a lot of good things for this university, and he put Notre Dame on an equal playing field with the other conferences. Like it would be the 5 power conference commissioners and Jack Swarbrick. Like that wasn't really the case beforehand. Like he elevated Notre Dame to that spot, in my opinion. And now it's up to Jack Bavacqua to continue that and continue to take Notre Dame even higher.
It's a great name, by the way, Bavacqua.
I know, right? I'm surprised I got it right.
It's Pete. It's Pete, though.
Yes,
it's Pete Bavacqua. Yes,
it's Peter.
Wow,
Pete.
What an idiot!
Anyway,
dude, I'm losing my mind, man. I'm losing my mind.
All good. We're getting there. We're getting to the end. I promise.
I think it's a 2-parter, by the way. So we only need 2 back-to-back here. Michael S. said, were we as positive about going into 2024 as we were going into 2016? He corrected himself. Are we being too overconfident?
I mean, I was friends with Brian prior to 2016, and he made it very clear that we should not be super confident going into 2016. That's what he made it very clear to me. So my confidence level was not super high going into 2016.
I mean, I trust the coaches a lot more than I did going into 2016, right? I mean, Mike Denbrock and Al Golden, I will put that against just about anybody Notre Dame has had as far as a pairing in a long time. I mean, there's no Brian Van Gorder in there, right? So I don't think the parallels exist for me, but I could be wrong.
Sean, what do you think?
I know I haven't showed, overconfidence. I think the expansion plays into Notre Dame's hands on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the pressure that has been on Notre Dame as an independent to make it in and what they had to do
to be perfect
with the schedule, perfect with a tough schedule.
Yeah.
Now that pressure isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
It just isn't. It isn't there for the players. It isn't there for the coaches. And now they can just play. If they lose one, okay, we lost one. All right. It is what it is. It's a new day. So no, we're not overconfident because on an annual basis, Notre Dame is right there to be one of the best 12 teams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no. Are we confident about the chances to win it all? That's a discussion. But being overconfident about 2024 being a successful season, I think we're right on par.
Yeah.
Like, because I haven't heard anyone say, yo, we're winning the national championship. Stepping out on that limb quite yet. But yeah, I fully expect Notre Dame to be a playoff team. in 2024. Like,
100%.
as well.
and I'll say that I would have said that if a transfer quarterback wasn't coming. That would have been my expectation.
Yes,
So
absolutely agree.
And I would have said that if Jared Parker was staying as offensive coordinator as well.
Oh, me too.
Yep.
No doubt about it. I completely agree with that as well. I don't want to do this to like look completely forward. If Steve Angeli would have been the quarterback for 2024, if he's the starter, let's say he wins it, they're still a playoff team. But I think that they're like a 10, 11 ranked playoff team. Like they're at the bottom, but they're in. With Riley Leonard, I think that they're in that 5-6 category area because, of course, Notre Dame can't be 1 through 4, right? So no matter what they do, it really doesn't matter if they're 12-0 or 11-1. They're going to be 5 to 6, like in that. You know what I mean? So
they're not a conference champ, right?
Correct.
Right.
So I think with Riley Leonard, they're 5-6. I think with Steve Angeli, they'd be 10-11. So I'll say that. That's my thought process going into the offseason. So yeah, I agree. They're a playoff team regardless. Schedule, depth, talent, all of that. They're a playoff team. Completely agree. All right, A. Clayton, he's pushing back on your strawberry Pop-Tarts, fellas.
Oh, man. Thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry that you have a wrong opinion. Brown sugar Pop-Tarts for the win. Thanks for the content, fellas. They're fine. They're a solid Pop-Tart. Very passable Pop-Tart.
That sounds like a cookie. I've never had it, so I can only guess.
Oh, you've never had brown sugar? That's my
brown
favorite.
Sugar cinnamon's good. I mean, it's
yeah,
good.
brown sugar is my favorite, to be honest with you.
I mean, I've just never had it. Like, what's the filling? Is it like a brown filling with like? I'm trying because I'm sorry, man. I've never had it, so
it just tastes like brown sugar. It literally tastes like you took a spoonful of brown sugar.
So there is a filling.
Too much for me.
Yes, there's a filling. Yes,
that's what I was asking. I didn't know whether or not it was kind of that's what I was asking.
Yep,
it's too much for me personally, Sean. It's just like two one notes. Like when you get a good strawberry Pop-Tart, it's like you got the crisp, you got the strawberry, you got the top. Like it's separate. Like it doesn't blend as much together as like a brown sugar Pop-Tart.
I'm actually going to try it.
I think it's good. I will say, like back in the day, they had the brown sugar with no frosting. It was just like a no frosting Pop-Tart with the brown sugar in between. I prefer that. I think the frosting kind of takes it to almost like a too sweet of a land.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't give the no frosting ones anymore that I can really find. So,
Yeah. Someone said wild berry in the chat. I tried a wild berry one time, and I'm like, I'm good on this.
No, thank you.
Too strong. Wild berry. There's too much there.
I hate the design of it too. Like it just doesn't look good to me. Like I'm just like I'm all right.
That's
man.
fair.
Inside and out. No, thank you.
All right, last one that we've got so far.
Paul Olmstead, with the new playoff format, if Notre Dame is 8th or higher, we will be in the playoff with a home game in December.
This is 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, yes, we will be because 9, 10, 11, 12 are the away teams. So yeah, 100%, Paul. And I fully anticipate we will be attending a home game at Notre Dame Stadium with the snow falling. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, let's hope.
So
I like dessert hot pockets. Someone just said they're hot pockets, and I agree. They're dessert hot pockets. You were correct. Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hot pockets are good. I love hot pockets.
Big
They're good. Fan.
Except when you eat it too quick and you burn your mouth, but otherwise it's good. It's very good.
Well, the problem with a hot pocket is they never get warmed up like evenly,
properly. Yeah, exactly.
Like you'd be like burning hot, like you're burning your mouth, and you take a next bite and it's frozen. It's like what just happened?
Did you ever eat? Were you a bagel bite guy by any chance?
No, I was never a bagel bite guy. But
they had the same thing, man. It was just on the bottom, it was good. Like it whatever on the top with the cheese and everything, it would just be too hot. And you just burn your mouth. It was awful. Yeah, absolutely terrible.
No, I get it. All right. Oh, Rocket 25 with the super sticker to call it a day. Thank you, Rocket 25. It's a great screen name. I know Brian would very much appreciate that since that is his favorite player of all time. Fellas, that's going to do it for the final edition of our post-game show because this was the final game of the season. And so we've got a lot more football to watch in this postseason. A lot of good games to watch. So we're going to be keeping an eye on it. In theory, we've got an upon further review tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. That is the plan pending Brian's travel schedule. He should be back in time, but you never know. And so we'll see. It may get pushed. It may be tomorrow. I don't know. But that is what we are up to moving forward. And then we will be back to, I think, kind of the normal schedule come January, during the week.
Sort of.
Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, sort
Yeah.
of. Because you're going to be gone. And yeah,
I'll have
so
a
we'll
lot
have
of
to see.
I'll have a lot of recruiting extra shows and such
Okay.
during that first week of January and all that type of
Gotcha.
stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be relatively normal though. Yes.
Okay. Well, just hey, folks, you know how you solve this problem? You hit the subscribe button, you hit the notification bell, and then you're going to know when we have shows and what's up. And then, of course, subscribe to the boards at irishbreakdown.com. We'll keep you guys all in the know for what we've got going on show-wise. And then, of course, irishbreakdown.com, stories, intel, all that fun stuff is going to be there as well. Fellas, I appreciate you hanging out for a few hours after the game, celebrating a 40-8 victory for the Irish. They get their 10th win. They're shooting off into the sunset of the offseason in great shape. It's going to be fun to follow this team in the offseason. Spring practice will be here before you know it, and we'll be there. We're going to be your spot, so keep it locked in to irishbreakdown.com, everybody. So for Ryan, for Sean, I'm Vince, and we will talk to you next time on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.